Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this evening's War Commander Unshackled. We have the new PvP season, Warpath Round 2, and a whole bunch of other goodies to go through tonight. So I'm going to get on straight away on the panel this evening. We have David the Douche, we Dark Shadows, we have Fuck You, Lonnie, we have Godscope, we have the beautiful Skipjack, the Queen of War Commander. We have that little banana bastard. We have, of course, Fear the Peel. Who else we got there? We have, of course, the legendary Data King. We have Mr. Lionel Richie himself, Venom. We have Wolfie the Brat. And King has just dropped back in. And, of course, myself, the indomitable, the immortal Dr. Phil. How are we doing tonight, ladies and gentlemen?
Just walked in the door.
It's not the greatest birthday in the world, but you know.
We're getting to that.
I've been drinking a little bit, and I just want to say I'm going to smash the base.
God damn it, Lonnie.
Happy birthday.
Oh.
No, we're not singing happy birthday. I don't do it. Not this is my goddamn show.
Oh, come on. I'm not allowed to sing to him for birthday?
I am not popping out of the cake.
We
I don't
will
care
do that
how
in private, Skip.
Skip can do it by all means,
That's
but
what
none of
I-
you fuckers can
that's one of my
sing, so that's not going to happen.
To do.
We'll do it later. Do it later.
Okay.
Skip, you can do it as much as you like, but none of these other fuckers can. They sang to me on my birthday. That was bad enough.
Okay, I got my half glass of wine. This will be the clean version. You ready?
Oh, boy.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my wonderful lover, Data King. Happy birthday to you.
All right, gentlemen, go clean yourself up. You know what was you know what you did.
hip hip hooray.
All right, let's go.
My daughter's sitting over there going, she just heard me sing that. She's 29. She went, Mom. What? She's never
Let's
heard
crack.
me be like that before.
Let's go
She
right
said,
ahead.
That's disgusting.
Let's go right ahead and dive straight into the release notes for the week,
Let's
then, shall we?
go.
Okay, we're getting fire tech bases with no date, ironically. Reiki bases being attacked across the sector, blah, 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 blah. And a whole bunch of tech for Spartans, ZK, Acolytes, Hammers, Bonesaws, Valiants, Apollos, Juggernaut, Warrig, and Blackout. Now, I know for a fact the Jug, the Warrig, and the Blackout tech is already in the gear store, and they're 300,000 medals apiece. The other stuff, not so much. I haven't seen anything where you can get them yet. I'm assuming they're going to drop a base at some point. But we can find out that when it comes, I suppose. Note that the bases contain tech for the listed units, not the units themselves. Nice disclaimer, Chris. Nice disclaimer. Yeah, you know how butthurt people can be, so that's excellent news.
And some stupid idiot is still going to complain because they can't read through the entire thing. So
Yeah. Cheating and exploit fixes. It's no longer possible to cheat the replication of tech components. Good. Okay. Large suite of changes were made to the gear store. A lot of stuff has come in and a lot of stuff has come out. Now, content, as in tech for the lead preserver, that also counts towards special forces in general. The high caliber ammo and the adaptive body armor. Now, these are the rare tech, so they're gold. And at the moment, I've seen them for 25,000 medals each, which is dirt cheap. The Cyclone for the nitrogen rockets and siege rounds, again, gold tech, and uranium payload and demo rounds for the ground, which is war horses, and a couple of others that I don't know. I know uranium payload can fit on a Tempest as well, and that hurts. Monthly content for units, Spartan ZKs are in the gear store now. I haven't actually checked how much they are. Tech, of course, unique fire tech, fire rocket drones, fire bombs, and the mounted flamethrower. Now you can see it is October, so we're entering fire sale month, as so to speak, because we all know what's coming in a couple of weeks. The last chance items now are Roland's Heroic Tech and Adra's Heroic Tech. So if you missed anything in the last month, you have another month to get these techs. The P-15 Shrapnel, Grounded Light Armor, and the Heroic Training for Roland. The Tight Spaced Armor, the Inductor, and Adra's Training is in there for the 1 month and 1 month only. And it's last chance for those particular items. What is it? 40k for the ZK unit. That's not bad, actually. The following units have been removed. Roland and Adra, Seeker, Valiant, all of Oran's tech, all of the Seeker tech, all of the Valiant tech. The HH2 is gone. The engine accelerant is gone. Choke barrels and corrosive coating is also gone. The Nimbus tech, combustion cores, engine cooling, hydroplaning is also gone. And for the last set on the list, the general changes and fixes. For Warpath Round 2, capturing a deposit from a player will no longer trigger perma damage protection. So they can't use that exploit anymore. Exiting to the world map will sometimes result in a text error displaying incorrect repair costs for your base, or units in your base. This has been corrected. We'll have to find out how corrected that is as to whether it is being fixed or not. The level 2 Platts whistle text description is now correct. I don't have it, so that's fine. A text error in the tutorial has been corrected. Unclickable space near the unit deploy button has been corrected. Now, it's about fucking time.
That is a huge help.
Especially when I'm doing Medal 90s. Because that hunter right underneath the deploys is a pain in the ass.
Yes, it is. I'm so glad that they finally listened and made that change.
I am appreciated very much.
Agreed, 100%.
Hero training tokens incorrectly stated that the heroes could be leveled up to level 10. This has been corrected to display level 5. An error that restricted players' ability to use the workshop replicator has been corrected. Now, there's another spot in here that went in about an hour and a bit ago. We are working on a fix for an issue that has appeared in the workshop. In progress tech research that was started prior to the downtime is not displaying correctly and is throwing an error in the workshop itself. We hope to have this resolved as soon as possible. Now, to add to that, there is a secondary problem with the workshop at the moment, and it's not just affecting me, it's affecting several other people. For the last 2 to 3 days almost, I have tried to upgrade a piece of chaplain tech, and it has failed every goddamn time. My base either gets hit and it disappears, or I am offline and it finishes, and then suddenly the tech is just rolled back to level 1, even though I've been trying to upgrade it to level 2 for the last 2 to 3 days. Yep. I put in a ticket, CS knows about it, they gave me 50 gold. I gotta credit them just for doing that. I'm not coining the damn tech, but
but I get it. That's actually one of the things that's up in the room. So I just throw that out there live. Kixeye is aware of it as far as investigating. Those of you, I'll just throw it out there because I was glad that you brought it up because I was going to bring it up later. Public service announcement. It shouldn't be about the corners or non-corners, but here's the way it is. If you are, and you do have access to customer support and you are having issues, please do send a message to customer support. If you get compensation, great. If you don't bitch about it. But those numbers, it's a bean counter. So those numbers make a difference. So they see that many people reporting that there's a problem, it makes even more of a difference because that goes to the next level and then the next level. Then the engineers get eyes on it. But if you have, even if you don't mind making like a Bandicam video, I'm not saying that they don't believe you, but if you could just make, especially some of you guys have some really great skills when it comes to Bandicam, and then you speed it up. If you could just you speed up the videos. If you could make a quick Bandicam video and show what you're doing, Bandicam. I almost said Bandcamp. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? This one time at Bandcamp. But anyway, if you could make a Bandicam video of something and then show it, exactly, and then show it, and then so the engineers can see. I'm not saying that they can't replicate what you're doing, but if they get, the more tickets they get about the issue, then the more widespread they realize the issue is, that it's not just a 1 or 2 thing, then people stop getting answers back from customer support. I'm not saying that everybody is, but I've already seen an example where the person was blamed for their internet connection. And in this case, this person does have those problems. It's been a long-standing problem, but I know that Phil doesn't have that problem. I don't have that problem. I know some other people that have this issue, and I know that their systems are top-notch. It's not a connectivity issue. There's got to be something that's happening on KixEye's end. I'm not saying it's all KixEye's end, but there's got to be something for this many people to have this problem. So if you have,
honestly,
please.
it stinks of a certification error.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking is a certification error, because the other guy, one of my more detailed persons that have given me so much information that I'm sharing with the team right now is it happens on both his KXL and his Facebook account, but it happens differently, which is really weird. So that in itself tells me that the way that it's processing, it's got to be something on KixEye's end. I'm not saying it's all on KixEye's end, but there's got to be something, like you said, a certificate error somewhere that's not allowing it to go through properly. So there must be something going on. So please, if you have access to support, please don't blow this one off. Send a ticket.
It may be something to do with the fixes they've done for workshop.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I think maybe that might be getting in the way, which, you know me, I don't want to go into specifics about that, but I'll just say, yeah, I think I like what they have there in place, and I don't want them to mess with that. But they might just need to make a little tweak. And
a tweak should happen. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to be that difficult, because messing with code is a pain in the ass.
And we don't want them to mess with what they've put in place to keep those hacks from going anyway. And for the people who are exploiting them, the zeros, you know, I mean, seriously. I mean, who doesn't know that that's somebody who was cheating? I don't want to go back to that, even for a day. 5 minutes, 5 hours. I don't want to go back to that, because they'll end up with those texts again. And as soon as one person finds out, every single frickin' twat waffle out there will go out and twat waffle their account until KixEye can get back in hot patches, and we'll go right back to where we were.
Same issue.
Yeah, and then people sharing workshops that say 0, which we all know is somebody who hacked. I mean, come on, let's be real. Okay, next.
Yeah, that's next on my list. I want to give a pop just so Chris can go in and edit this. What he hasn't done is put in the new heroes that have gone in here. And he made a mistake. He probably missed something, or somebody forgot to put it on his copy and paste list. But what he hasn't done in there is stated the heroes that are now back in the gear store, which is Sunder, Weaver, and Nyx. It's a small oversight, and I'm not going to completely burn him for it, but it's something that does need to be added to that list, just in case people don't know.
There's Sunder, right?
Sunder, Nyx, and Weaver are the 3 heroes that are in there now.
Everybody get Nyx. She's good. Sunder's going to bail your ass out this upcoming event to get him. If you can only get one, if you can only get one, I would recommend getting Nyx. If you can get 2, get Sunder as well. If you're a low level and you don't have any Furies and you're looking for help for this upcoming event, get Sunder. He will help you a ton.
Yeah.
That is
because of the fire that he uses.
Sunder's for the Vindicators, Nyx is for the Furies. Okay.
Yes, but Sunder, for this upcoming zombie event, Sunder has a built-in fire aspect to his shots. He will help you.
And they also have the fire rounds for the jug as well in there too. So
yeah.
I'm going to knock on wood and hope to God they put out these 55 metal bases, because I hit probably 300 35s and 30s a while back, and I got no Raining Bloods, and I just hit 3 and I got 2. I'm so happy.
Bite me.
I have 6, so you can go nuts.
Fuck off.
The 55s haven't been out for a while, and when they do come out, they don't run the same as the old ones do, because they upgraded the CC on there, so Raining Blood doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So that is...
Last time it was out, Raining Blood worked.
Yeah, I have 3 I'm sitting on, but yeah, when they changed it, it's CC's a little more powerful than you think now. So.
Yeah. So we move from the downtime and release notes to the new guy, Golden Doodle, which I still can't help but giggle with his name just a little bit. And his rather different approach to a state of the game post. And it's a really good post. I read this yesterday. I was holding off until the show today to talk about it, to be honest. And he was introduced Monday by CM Chris, who again, I mean, I know CM Chris is only interim at the moment, but he's a breath of fresh air. I'm used to what he's posted because he did a lot of stuff in Vega.
Yeah.
KS a timeout, will you?
Can we please get CM Chris to stay permanent? He's doing phenomenal.
He is doing a phenomenal job so far. And I mean,
amazing.
Then shut up and stop saying he's doing a phenomenal job, because the minute they're aware, he'll be gone.
No, he's not going anywhere. CM Chris is so absolutely fabulous. He's not going anywhere. I won't let it happen. He's not going anywhere. Not only does it do for War Commander Rogue Assault. I think the only thing that he doesn't have his fingers in, and he does as far as the mod team goes, is Battle Pirates. And I mean that just because Dan was phenomenal, and Dan has moved on to another company, and the new guy that he has, believe it or not, his name is also Chris. So hello, we've got a lot of Chris's all of a sudden.
Yeah, too many guys named Chris.
Yeah, but his CM account name isn't Chris, but his first name is Chris. But yeah, he's great. War Commander Rogue Assault, Vega, War Commander himself. I mean, this guy wears a ton of hats. I mean, I'd have to buy him 2 hat racks, and he still manages to do a gazillion things. I mean, he is just on. He must drink a lot of Monsters, or Red Bulls or something, or Monsters and Red Bulls and Scotch all combined. Whatever it is he's drinking, it's working.
Compared to what we were used to, I mean, there's a lot of it's segmented. It's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot in this release note, of course, but it's segmented. It's highlighted. There's titles. Hell, even the disclaimer. I mean. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The only mistake that got made there was the oversight with the heroes, and that's
yeah.
it.
And I think that probably was just just like you said, an oversight, because he's not a War Commander person. I mean, just a War Commander person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we'll dive straight into the state of the game.
Dive.
Shut up, Lonnie. God damn it. So obviously his introduction and straight into the state of the game for everything that's planned for Q4 and the third quarter review. Of course, he talked about the Warrig quite a bit, and the unit itself was visually engaging and satisfying. But again, we ripped the Warrig to pieces the second a bunch of people got it, and then found out that it was shit. Obviously, with the balance changes that have been made, now a lot of people do have either elite level 30 Warrigs, and the lucky ones have it at Omega.
Yes, it's such a beast. I love it.
I know a few people were very, very pissed off that when the rebalance came a couple of weeks after that, they've removed the ability for it to go into base. And when that happened, because that was not intended to happen.
Could you imagine how annoying it would be to have your units scrapped?
Yeah, it would suck.
Well,
but as soon as that happened, as soon as the game came live, and after those notes were said, I took my war rig right out of my base. I mean, that was the first thing I did. As soon as my game loaded, poof, it was gone. I took it out, put in my other units, and went on my way. I didn't even want to mess with it. I didn't even want to.
You did.
Exactly what would be called.
Yeah, it would have really sucked to have Kicksai scrapped your war rig if you had it in your base.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine PM'd me and asked me that his was still in his base. He asked me if it was exploiting, and I told him, yeah, you should probably take that out because you can get banned for that. And so he took it out because he didn't know that something like that is considered exploiting a glitch.
Yeah.
So he had to take his out.
It's I wouldn't call it a glitch. It's exploiting something that was never intended to happen in the first place.
Yeah, it's
And
intended
Kickside did put things in place for that, where the people who did have it, for the most part, the majority of the players, the war rig was inoperable. I don't know if it was something that happened by accident or if this was something that somebody manipulated, but there were a select amount of players that ended up having a fully operational war rig. And you know, when Kickside made it so that it wasn't operational, yes, it was in there, yes, it took up space, but it wasn't operational. I mean, I actually saw pictures of players who had it and it just showed it's completely dead. Now, some of the players, it was right next to their storage. Some of the players, it was where their rally point was. And they're like, look, I can't move it, I can't do anything. And I said, yeah, but it's taking up space. Why would you want to take up that space in your base? Just pull it. And I'm like, well, why can't I use it? I said, because you can. And Kickside made it so that you can't. So then as soon as they were made aware that there were players that had fully functioning war rigs in there, and thank you to those of you who sent me videos of the players who did have it in their bases, and those people that just out and out said, no, I'm not taking it out. Yeah, I imagine now, you know, they don't have it. And if anybody sees someone with a fully functional war rig, please send in a ticket to Kickside. Definitely include video if you have it, and definitely include the player's user ID number. I also had some players come to me and they didn't know. Well, you had two players that couldn't figure out how to get it out of their base. So, you know, those players, I advocated for them and said, yeah, let me, they're like, I don't want to get reported for cheating, but it's like half dead, but I can't get to move it. You know how it was with PvP tunes, you couldn't remove your units out. So they kind of got stuck. It kind of got stuck. So they couldn't remove it because it was like half dead, but it was fully functional, but they didn't want to use it. You know, it's nothing you could do about it if you can't remove it. So those players, I assisted them because they didn't qualify for support. So those players, I did intervene on their behalf and say, hey, look, here's a video. This guy can't remove it. It's fully functional, but he can't remove it. And he showed with the Bandicam that he couldn't remove it. So Kickside did take care of that. But for those of you who got stuck with it, I mean, for those of you who had it and you were exploiting it, shame on you. That's all I got to say. I mean, especially if you're out there bragging to the community that you're using it. And oh well, it's my choice if I choose to exploit the game. That's just so. Where are your morals?
I just have one thing to say on that. You get exactly what you deserve for the privilege.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you're going to be that way, if you're going to be down and dirty, and you're going to be in your face like that, I mean, after all the things that Kickside has done wrong, and now Kickside is doing things right, and then you're just still going to like be in your face and rally against the company, you just need to give up the game. Just give up the game and stop playing, because your integrity is in the toilet right now. Because those people that Kickside had to remove the war rig, you don't think that that's going to be like probably marked somewhere forever? I mean, come on. Your integrity is completely in the toilet. I would be embarrassed to even show my face. And I mean that. This is just me speaking from a player's point of view, not a moderator, not that I'm even affiliated with Kickside. If I had done something like that, if I showed my workshop as 0 of 0 or worse, negative of something, I would be embarrassed to show my face. If I was associated with somebody that said 0 of 0 or negative something, and that person was still part of my group or my clan or whatever, I'd be embarrassed to show my face. And then to be associated with or be that person who's just like in your face, it's my choice to use the exploit. Your integrity is worse than in the toilet, okay? It's like down underneath the filth of the slime of whatever's going back to the earth that will be oil and dinosaur bones. I mean, I just can't fathom that amount of smugness. And how you would even want to, how do you command respect from anyone in game with that kind of attitude and anybody associated with you? I just don't understand that concept. I would never do that. I would never risk my reputation as a person, as a human being. And yeah, you can say, oh, well, this is just a game. You know what? It is just a game. And sometimes in these games, you get to see people for who they really are in real life because of the way they conduct themselves as an adult. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, your thoughts are always appreciated here, Anna. You know that. So I'll get back to where we were. Of course, they've done the war rig. They introduced the blackout. I know some people are already playing with it and they like it. I've seen some stuff. And by the time I get that in the next couple of weeks, I'll enjoy it too. The chaplain during the divide, the funnest. I misread that a couple of times and I thought it's the funniest because the chaplains are pretty damn funny to play with. And even at level 2 and 3, they do a damn lot of damage. I mean, me and Wolfie fucked around with them not so long ago, and the little bastard put a bunch of chaplains in his base. So what do? I deployed my legion in his base, and he came out with chaplains and ate my fucking legion. And I mean, ate him alive.
Clones, it almost killed the legion.
Yeah, I managed to get him the fuck out of there before you killed him.
The drones, millisecond, gone.
Yeah, I ate them alive. It was annoying, but it was funny to watch.
Yeah, you did flat me, good job, but
it was a friendly thing. There's no malice involved. We fuck around with Wolfie all the time, so it's all good. We go straight to the War Dog in July. I only have one of those, and I haven't built them, so I can't comment on if they're actually any good or not. Any comments on the War Dogs? Does anybody have any? Does anybody have any War Dogs?
The only thing I use the War Dogs for is getting across the world map.
I was going to say, I've only got 2. I bought one, and I collected one from the actual event that it came in. Well, I didn't buy one, but I got one in a second base. But, with the XP. But, yeah, they're just for their map speed is all I use them for. They're still low level. Now, at high level, I've heard they're pretty good. I mean, they do eat everything. They go after tanks. They go after infantry. So
that's one level 10 one.
10. Okay, see.
So Wolfie's got his. He's got his at level 10, and they do have that. What is it? Lockjaw.
Yeah,
level 10, I think it's called.
To infantry and bunkers when it decides to eat the fucking metal and everything else.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they do have predominantly more health than the original dogs, so I mean that's that bonus.
Yeah,
the health is good.
They do. And of course the Cyclops, which I quite enjoy. Mine are still sat at level 1, but even at level 1, they're pretty damn nice to play with. And of course the damage that ramps up over time combined with the stealth at level 10. Well, when I get them to level 10, it'll be better, but at the moment, they'll sit at level 1 for a while I'm sat doing my jug. So that's one thing that is. I'd like to play with them more, but I haven't found a proper use for them yet. And at some point, I hope that I will. The Hornet and the Yellow Jacket, I'm still not sold on those. They were introduced last month during the event. And the goal with these is to improve the power level of drones overall, giving you new tools to use in base defense. I'm still not sold, to be honest. I'm not sold on them at all. The Yellow Jacket has 100k more health than the Night Owl, and does have the same space, and practically the same damage at level 10. There's there's a 50 DPS difference in there. It's negligible at best, and compared to the Owl, it doesn't have stealth, and stealth is something that everybody wants, especially with the Owls.
I've noticed with the Yellow Jacket.
And Night Owls aren't a limited build.
Neither are the Hornet and the Yellow Jacket. They're not a limited build either.
Yeah,
they were a one-time purchase, but compared to the Owls, they have a fucking really long build time. They're a day and 9 hours each. I can build a Night Owl in, I think it's about half the time.
7 hours.
That's even less. Command Center 12, released in August, along with new levels for existing buildings, along with a dramatically improved Command Center and several quality of life improvements.
that made me
quality of life always gives me a giggle. It's one of those things. Quality of life is basically bringing up everything else in line and keeping players that are far behind, trying to get them up to speed a little faster. try saying that when you're drunk, dual dozer functionality for turrets, which I have campaigned for ages. I'm not taking credit for it because a lot of other people have made the same suggestion, but it was campaigned for by a lot of players for a long time. So you can have your worker going and equip a new turret at the same time, which is good. I like that. An extra air platoon, that only really comes into account if you have CC-12 and then the extra helipad, and unifying air unit types. So the helipad is no longer stuck just doing helicopters. It can do ground helicopters and VTOL aircraft, for instance. Titan and Sandstorm can now go in a helipad. So that's about as close as a comparison as I can make. Support turrets, which I haven't played with yet. The brand new category of turret offers significant enhances to and improves the functionality of the existing turrets. The goal is to give more tools in arsenal for base defense strategy. If you've got a support turret in your base at the moment, I'm not fucking hitting you. Warpath. Warpath was the first PvP event of its kind, which we can talk about that a little more later before we do round 2, while minimizing the negative aspects such as resource loss or long repair times for defender platoons. Now, Warpath, I quite enjoy it. The concept of it, it does need tweaking. It does need tweaking. But so far, so good. Is as much as I can say for that. Has anyone got comments for Warpath or any of that stuff I went over?
I agree on the turrets. The Warpath, yeah, the way in which the honors are awarded in the original, first rounds is fine, but as you do gain your level, there has to be some sort of adjustment, in my opinion, there, because it becomes a point where you get hamstrung and deadlocked, where it becomes just unbelievably difficult to gain more infamy to get up to that 10,000. Now, once you're at that high pinnacle, you're just hitting for zeros and zeros and zeros, and there's going to be a point where the ones that are lucky enough to get up to that high bracket right off the bat very rapidly, you're safe because nobody else is going to be able to get up there. You'll just stay in little bubbles, and get somebody to bubble you every 4 hours, and you'll make your reward. But
I want to highlight a comment
real
quick on the Warpath formula. While they considered changing, this is from Godin. I can't even say his fucking name now. This is from the Doodle himself. I'm just going to call him the Doodle from now on.
I like that. It's better than the dude. It's the Doodle.
It's the Doodle. It's the Doodle. While they considered changing the honor formula between the rounds, they ultimately decided it would be unfair to change it halfway through, which I agree with. And they will be using the feedback for improvements for the next Warpath. And you will start Warpath round 2 where you left off in round 1.
Oh, then they have to do an adjustment because people are going to have all kinds of different numbers, and then you're going to be stuck where you...
Did you not just... I just read it. They're not changing the formula now.
No. I'm saying for the next one. You're saying you're good. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm misinterpreting what you just said. I thought what you're saying is the next evolution of Warpath, not this tomorrow, but I meant the following one. They were going to start us off where we end this one.
I wish it was tomorrow.
I apologize.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I wish they would have put the changes in so it's easier for high levels to get honored this upcoming round.
No, I agree. And Phil, I'm with you 100%. You can't change an aspect like that midstream.
No,
that is just wrong.
It fucks with the natural meta. The meta has to be adjusted to first.
Fuck meta and round 2. It's just not right. It's just not cricket. It's just not right.
That too. Okay, I was trying to do it so the knuckleheads would understand, and I didn't have to say cricket because nobody else knows what fucking cricket is.
I know what cricket is.
It's baseball for non-pussies.
Yeah, exactly. It's real baseball. Sorry.
When you're whipping a hard ball at a tiny stick with a guy who's got nothing between his bones and that rock flying at him but a piece of leather. Yeah.
He is wearing a cup. I have to state that for legal reasons. He is wearing a cup, and he does have shin guards.
And a helmet.
That's it.
That's true. That's true.
Half the time they don't wear helmets.
Yeah. Well,
You know, the way when I see a cricket game, what it reminds me of is the biggest, most badass American baseball catcher being the person who is the batter. When the person steps up to the plate, that's what it reminds me of. Imagine, to me, I mean, that was the first couple of times I ever watched one. I thought to myself, well, geez, every one of these players looks like a catcher from American baseball. And I'm like, oh, they all come to the plate like this. You know, because in American baseball, you can have the helmet that has the jaw guard, you know, that kind of thing. But no, I know what cricket is, and I love it, and it's awesome.
The only thing, and I have to say this because my Yankee American blood just makes me have to say it, they do throw it like gay because it's underhand.
Come on. But they're
underhand.
allowed to swing.
They have to bounce it.
But they're allowed to swing their arms like girls softball is. I mean, they're allowed to whip that sucker.
One of those balls is thrown at somebody.
Oh, it's over 100 miles an hour. It's insane.
It's 120 miles an hour.
Yeah,
People have died getting hit by those balls.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, some of the best people in American baseball some of the best pitchers can barely get it above 90 miles an hour. I'm just saying.
It's going to be one of those times that I have a rare
Remember the
agreement
guy, Randy Johnson, hitting that jaw?
Shut up.
Man, broke that dude, shattered that dude's jaw.
I'm going to agree with King and get back on topic, you bunch of noobs.
Thank you, King.
Because I'm a baseball player.
Yeah, I have to say
I'm
that
a
my
winner.
outfits.
On topic.
I am a baseball fan. I just wanted to acknowledge.
So
I just wanted to acknowledge the worldwideness of different variations of baseball. There you go. Go for it, Phil.
Yeah,
Variations.
I'm sitting here, my blood's boiling.
I'm trying to be politically correct.
It's just America
We're
making
gonna
up their
head
own
for-
games to play by themselves.
Shut up. Don't rile them up anymore.
No
Let's
bad
get
against
back
a
on the
sticky wicket.
game. Back on the game. So I've lost my fucking place now. Thank you very much. So we're improving performance and closing cheats. The number of improvements under the hood, fixing bugs in how units pass through different terrain. One of the frequent causes of crashes and poor performance during battle. It's a long way to go. Sobocop will be reaching out more over the next coming months to talk about these. And I'm going to say this. Yeah, Sobocop, the last technical post that went out was excellent, except for the fact that about 90% of the community had no idea what the fuck you were saying. And you got to simplify it a little bit more, because trying to explain some of the things that you said to other players was a nightmare, because they don't understand a lot of the stuff that is extremely technical. It's just a comment from me.
Next time you Ukraine.
No, it's totally awesome, and it's valid because it was actually in part of on Golden Doodle's welcome to. There were some comments, and that thing got to be 3 pages, and Kixeye finally closed it. Sam Chris closed it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great what the community said, but in that there were some comments about, could you please not make so much of the language come out to be so super technical, because we're just not, technologically savvy. You guys are, there's a large amount of the community that knows this game inside out and backwards. I mean, better than they know their own body in the back of their own hand. But then when it comes to these kinds of posts, it just goes over their head, and they're not noobs. So, I mean, you want to make it, not only do you want to make it good for your player base, who are long-standing players that know the game inside and out and backwards, but you need to make it informative and simplified enough. I'll say layman's terms, but I think that's over. I think that term is overused. You need to make it simplified enough for the new people coming into the game, because even if they're technologically savvy, it's still, and they're just learning the game, and then you throw something that's very technically related on top of it, and it adds that element of, gosh, I didn't realize this was going to be so hard to play this game. Does that make any sense? So when you lay something, when you lay something that's really heavily technologically laden, I don't mind explaining it. Dr. Phil doesn't. All of us here on the panel, we don't that understand that or do that for a living. We don't mind explaining it. I'm saying this to Kickside, and I would say this to them personally. We don't mind explaining it, but when it's like 1 or 2 people, that's one thing. But when it's hundreds of people that don't understand it, we don't even mind doing the show. But my comment is that if we could just make it a little bit, go ahead and make it as technical as you want to for the rest of it who get it, but then kind of maybe sort of say so in layman's terms. So if you're going to make a post in a sentence, then when you make that sentence that's really technologically laden, so that people who get it and understand what you're talking about get it, it's simple, check. And then you say so in layman's terms, then you explain it to the people in a non-condescending way, to the people who don't have that kind of technology knowledge as their base of what they do for a living or how they do. They just want to play the game. So they want you to take that best kick-ass knowledge that you have that's super, super informative and put it in a War Commander player's language. That's all. I mean, I will not fault this guy for what he's doing because he's right on. He's kick on, and we've never had this kind of communication with Kicksai like this before. This is unprecedented. It's not. I'm not faulting him from my point of view. And Phil, I hope you'll back me up on this. It's not a fault.
No, I don't fault him for it.
We're just asking for just a little for them to understand just a little bit that you've got these players that know the game better than Kicksai does. Right. It's his position, and he lives and breathes this stuff. But you've got players that live and breathe this game, and they know it better than Kicksai does. And then you throw the information out there to them, and they don't know how to apply it to this huge amount of knowledge that they have. If you just make that tiny little bit of extra effort to say so in War Commander player language, like I say, mod hat on, mod hat off. So War Commander player language or layman's terms, this is what that means. And boom, it's solved. Nobody has to explain it to anybody. Nobody's confused. Nobody's frustrated. And that was one of the comments that some of the people have made in welcoming Golden Doodle is please make your explanations player friendly. I guess that's the best way that I could say it, is player friendly.
Player friendly is definitely a thing. I mean, I know we did a show during the technical briefing where I attempted to do just that.
Yes.
And
which was a great show, but like you said,
it's a long and difficult show.
Yes.
Because simplifying technical jargon almost. It's not jargon, but jargon's the closest word I have to what it is.
Right.
Disassembling the technical stuff and making it simple, so trying to explain it to Shadow was funny as hell.
Exactly.
He's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
He knows the game inside out.
Thank you.
But
that was the comparison.
I know more about the technology behind it and all of the stuff that happens in the background more than he does. He knows the game. I know what runs it. And trying to explain to him about server caching for a start off was a giant pain in the ass.
That right there is the dichotomy of all computers. You can build it, he can play it.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, I've said it before, players who play the game inside and out will always know the game better than the devs.
And that's the reason we've always stressed for, those preview servers and trying to get a trusted tester system that wasn't so corrupt, unfortunately. It's to have players who play the game be able to school the people who design the game from the aspect of knowing the other side, not looking at it from the clinical point of view, but looking at it from the it hurts here doctor point of view. Yeah, you can fix it, but I'm the only one who can explain how to, why it needs to be fixed.
Exactly. And I mean, some of those things can't be replicated in a testing environment either, which makes Kicksai's job all the more harder to actually get shit done.
Yes.
I mean, if you've got a bug, something stupid, for instance, that you can't deploy a platoon in the game for whatever reason, invalid platoon or something like that. One of your techs is wrong, or you're missing something from somewhere after an update, and you're trying to deploy the platoon. Same with what happened with Adra during the event on the sale. You bought her, but she was showing 0 of 1 in the war factory for quite a while until Kicksai managed to get it sorted. Of course, I managed to get it sorted before the rollout happened because I sent in a very dissatisfied ticket to get it fixed. Now, one of those things, sometimes they don't realize that that's a thing, because she is a one-time limited unit. Trying to push that out there sometimes is a pain in the ass. If you miss the unlock key that says you can have one of these, and now you've got one of these, if you miss that little bit, then it's just not going to happen. You might get awarded it and credited it, but you can't do it. And trying to replicate something like that in a testing environment may not go well, because they might have all of the unlock sequences, whereas that package didn't. And now I'm going to confuse just about everybody because they have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, in simple terms, to use a different way of explaining it, it would be like downloading an update to something and having, like on your cell phone, you're downloading an update and partially way through the update, you lose cell service. So part of the data isn't transferred to your phone. Now you have a partial completion of the upgrade, but not a full completion. It opens, this starts to run, but then you'll get crashes, or you'll have an aspect of the application that doesn't run properly. And to replicate that, if the company tried to do it and re-download it to their system, it would come down completely, fully, no problem. But that one instance where you lost data connectivity caused you to have the issue. And that's sporadically. There are players out there that have a problem where they get a prize and something happens, not necessarily that's just a side, hypothetical, but something happens in the unlock of that, and one part of that tech in the data package, or one part of that tech in their particular purchase of the item, doesn't completely go through, and on their account they're missing that tiny little thing. It's missing the cinnamon in your apple pie. It's missing, the lemon juice on your lobster. It's just not. It's totally
just
there.
Missing one
little aspect. Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and we'll go straight to the closing cheats, which we all know that's come through quite recently in the last few weeks. Over the last 3 months, closed cheats and exploits for, in particular, even though he's only actually listed 3, which is quite amusing. The workshop tech can no longer be cheated, which we absolutely praised for. The elite and omega units can no longer be cheated for free. That has caused some issues with legitimate players who have sent in tickets for that particular reason. Either they lost parts and got them back, or lost parts and been given gold in order to go out and get the parts again. And of course, those bastards that cheated the whole thing entirely aren't going to get shit. And they absolutely deserve it.
But I just had to put it back on.
Oh, that's another thing entirely. And missiles can no longer be cheated to hit instantly, which is about goddamn time. I hate that. I hated that. Now, I actually made a comment further down in the post about this afterwards, but where they think they fell down. The fix for the instant missile cheat didn't work the first time they pushed it out. That was immediately corrected and re-released the following week. As mentioned above, they didn't get the balance right on the war rig the first time around. They'll continue to actively update unit balance where necessary to ensure power matches its cost. They didn't put out as many new features in preview as they wanted. Most recently started doing it more with Warpath and the most recent balance changes. And the game's technical performance still isn't in the right place. While they're making improvements, it still needs to be better. Comments like this, especially with performance. You're trying to pull performance out of a Flash game, and it simply is only going to go so far. I mean, Data said it multiple times before that it's a Flash game. It's not gonna happen. You can only do X amount of work before you're overloaded, and you can't pull any more out of it. And if they can fix the memory leak, that'd be great. That would be excellent if they can figure out what's causing that, and they can get it fixed. Now, I actually disagreed with where they fell down, and where they say they fell down, I told them they pulled themselves back up, because the instant missile cheat go out the first time, it was fixed the following week. And during that particular week, I didn't see much of it get used at all. There were very rarely complaints. So I think it put people off trying to do it. Which I'm not saying go out and try all the cheats again, but because that's just not my thing. I think I just double-worded myself in some point there, but it doesn't matter. I can gloss over that with anybody in private if they want to shout at me, because I was quote-unquote endorsing it. I don't endorse any kind of cheating, manipulating, or exploiting of anything. Just in case you want to get fucking mouthy. The balance on the war rig. Again, I both agreed and disagreed on that one, because they fixed it in the end. I mean, nothing ever done first, especially kickseye-wise, is ever 100%. I mean, it's not as a downer to them. It's more of an observation that's happened over the last almost 9 years. Not just in War Commander, just in everything else as well. That goes to War Commander, Backyard Monsters, Battle Pirates, and Vega as well. There's a lot of stuff in there, and you're never going to get everything right 100% of the time. Never. And of course, looking at the fourth quarter, of course, with Warpath Round 2, there have been some suggestions for extra things in the what is it called? The exchange thing for Blood Thorium. Putting heroes in there for people who don't have them. If they're going to offer the tokens, they may as well offer the heroes in there as well. Probably maybe like 2 Blood Thorium or something like that, just to put it out there. Okay, that's I see the side chat, Skippy. I got you.
You're welcome.
New unique units and currently interesting stuff coming the way in Q4. Can't wait. I love some new stuff. The alliances, currently there's not enough content for alliances, which is a thing. I mean, how we've been screaming ever since it came out to have a bloody alliance chat, and there still isn't one. Because it'd be great. It'd be great if there was.
There's in Battle Pirates. It would be great.
There's one in Battle Pirates. There's 4 different chats. There you go.
Oh, well, Vega. Oh, let me take that back. It's in all games except War Commander. Sorry.
Yeah. I laughed my ass off when I saw that comment about the October event. I mean, I think I was in a hangout with somebody and I just burst out laughing. And I don't condone anyone breaking anybody's kneecaps. I know he'll be here shortly, so I can say that one is on. And of course, the wrap-up for the State of the Game post is performance is his #1 priority. It doesn't matter how good the content is. If you can't play, then all the design work is wasted. And they're going to streamline the game experience faster, smoother, and more reliable. And again, he stated, stay tuned for Silvercop's upcoming progress on the game's performance, which is great. I can't wait to read that post. Big posts like these, I enjoy rather well. They've pushed out a number of surveys, and be honest, when you fill in one of these, don't just click 1 or 0 or you suck or you suck or you suck or this is shit and this is shit and this is shit. If it's shit, say why. Fill in survey properly. Don't be a dick. And of course, they say the last 3 months have been successful, released a ton of new content while improving performance and closing cheats. Seen old players come back, including myself and Data. And current players signing more across the board. Engagement is up, but it's not enough. War Commander can and will get better over the coming days, months, and years. And that's basically it. Patience, playing, and apparently we're the reason he comes to work every day. Look, if I'm the reason you have to go to work every day, you're in the wrong job.
Sorry.
You are in the wrong job. Nobody needs that. Don't ever put that on my conscience.
Phil,
it's not something I need or anybody else. That's disgusting.
You're the reason I eat my Wheaties.
You're the reason I go to Starbucks for my coffee every morning.
Oh.
You're the reason I drink tea.
You're the reason I drink
You're
whiskey.
the reason I drink beer.
My job is done here.
It certainly is. There's a lot of statistical analysis on Warpath. It's not very heavy. Apparently, Sunil Roy. I'm probably willing to bet that guy's like level 29. But there's a lot of statistical breakdowns with the top 10 players here. I don't know any of them, and I'm probably willing to bet they're about under 40.
Daywalker is a level 42, and I only know that is because he was inside my last clan. And Sun Roy is a 41, although he's set in Sector 1, so I can't tell you exactly what he did there. But
all right. I mean, yeah, 40, 41, 42 is about the best bracket to be in, because if you've got a couple of units like the Herald, for instance, even if you just have the Herald, you can go in and whack a lot of bases.
Being 47 really sucks. I mean, really, really sucks.
Somebody informs when a unique rune is removed.
I read that post, and the guy's an idiot. I see you, Bumbles.
I'm sorry. I just saw the comment in the YouTube chat. So, okay, ETA less than 2, please.
Less than 2. Okay, we'll wrap up this bit as quickly as we can.
Time. Okay.
We got plenty of time. Apparently, according to the statistical breakdown, 40,000 players, well, 40,517 players actually played. That's total engagement for Warpath. Now, I don't know if that counts players actually being hit or players that actually had honor. I'm assuming it's players that actually gained honor.
Yeah.
Total honor gained 74 million, close to 74.5 million honor. Average honor is 5,693. Total attacks 900,000. I'm assuming that's rounded up or rounded down. I'm not entirely sure, because that's a very on the spot number to have.
My uncle, who was a CPA, always said, if you ever do math and come up with even numbers, do it again. You fucked up.
Yeah.
Aggregates are always
I'm inclined to agree. I think they've aggregated this one just a little bit. That's fine though. It makes my job a little easier. Attacks per player 22. I know for a fact I hit more than 22 goddamn bases. 775 players in diamond, 493 platinum, 1100 in gold, 2,900 in silver, 10,000 in bronze, and 24,000 in close to 25,000 in the iron section. So I mean, even if you just hit the iron section, you'll get some medals out of that. If you go one more, you'll get at least 1 blood thorium out of it. So I would recommend at least pushing for bronze or silver, to be perfectly honest. It's not that hard to do. The reminder that the honor carries forward to the second round, and all prizes will be paid out at the end of round 2. A lot of feedback since Warpath didn't include any full weekend days, so in response to popular demand, extending Warpath Round 2 by 1 day. Starts Thursday, October 5th, ends Sunday, October 8th.
That is so appreciated by me.
It is.
It gives you
the following bugs: attacking a player's depot will no longer trigger perma-damage, and exiting the world map would sometimes result in a text error. I think I've read that. Now, he's got some tips on dealing with the Herald, because the Herald was the most used unit during the base. I know WT is going to be on here in a minute, but we can just run over this quickly. There were some amusing comments made about drone silos and rocket silos. Going full anti-air leaves you open to get smashed by a Jug or a war rig. So I don't recommend going full anti-air. Even though the Herald is quite powerful, I don't recommend going full anti-air ever. The Herald is slow, blah, blah, blah. That's the radius of the blast radius of 10 walls, but those walls are all level 1. So if you've got bigger walls, I don't know what fucking level they are now, but
the max level buffs against splash. So
the footprint for level 1 walls and max walls are the same.
Well, we're talking about how wide that explosion will radiate out. If you have a wall that is against splash damage that hems it in, it should do less damage radiating outward. So.
Hello.
The
The
wall
time
itself,
is near.
yeah, the wall itself absorbs it, though it doesn't stop the splash damage. So the wall on the other side, the unit on the other side of the wall will still get damage.
I'm very much ready whenever it is.
Okay, so we have somebody drop out, and he'll start clicking.
Okay. Any volunteers?
Skip.
Yep, I'm ready, David. Thank you.
Well, you stay, Skip. You're more vital than I am.
No, David agreed to drop out. I asked him.
Wolfie's gone.
Wolfie. Stay, David.
Okay.
No, tell David to leave.
Well, I didn't want to be that guy.
I didn't want to be that guy either, so.
No, but David already agreed. David already agreed.
Yeah,
Wolfie,
David already
I
agreed.
appreciate your sacrifice.
I did ask him. There he is.
Wolfie, I don't care what everybody in the race says about you. You're a good guy.
There's a man. So Wolfie's the one who agreed to drop out.
Look, our knight in
Look
shining
at that
unicorn.
sunshine.
That sun is blinding. Let me
A
change
knight
to
in
a
shining
different couch.
unicorn. I like that.
Here we go. We'll go over here like this. Let's see if that's better.
No,
that's worse.
That's terrible.
That seemed like a good idea at the time.
If Mr. Doodle decides to join, I will drop out.
Very well.
Go ahead. I'll let him speak to that. He told me that it's probably. Well, go ahead. You can say it. It's not. He's not going to be able to make it this time, but that doesn't mean he won't be in the future. So there you go.
We don't want to scare
adult beverage I saw.
It's actually not this time. This time I'm coming off frankly a bit of a flu I had last week. So I've learned that if I can find any alcohol with any flu, it doesn't make things better. So this is just a sparkling non-alcoholic beverage for a change.
That doesn't mean there's not like a little bit of scotch in there, but I mean it's cough medicine. It's good for
I
you.
always say the most intelligent alcoholic beverage drinkers know when to surprise their liver with an occasional iced tea or water.
Yes.
Sparkly.
And how are you feeling? Because
Tomorrow, my liver is
look
not
better
happy right now.
I was gonna say, on a personal note, you look better. You don't look 100%, I'll admit, but you look better. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, generally doing better. You know, it's one of those things that just like takes it out of you a little bit, but feeling a little bit more human, and that's important.
Yes, very important.
Excellent. So, why are you here? What have you got for us?
Well, that's a fine question. I had actually previously promised to be on the show prior to Warpath to talk about Warpath. I promised that I did fall a bit short on, unfortunately, due to that flu. But yeah, I'm really just on to say hi. We can talk some Warpath. We can talk. You know, I don't think we've chatted since the balance changes went live. Or future plans there. I'm happy to, you know, do the usual, answer any questions you guys have, but take the topic wherever you please to take it. So totally game for whatever you guys are game for.
Well, I'm going to go straight in and drop the new guy in it and ask you about the October event.
Yes, the old kneecapping. Well, let's see. Is there anything that I can reveal? Are there going to be zombies in it? What's that?
Zombies. He wants to know if there are going to be zombies.
I said, are there going to be zombies in it? No, I was joking. Go ahead, Phil. You had a better question.
Yeah, the October event. I think something I can say, and I still have to be a little bit vague here. But with the last event, you know, as you guys are well aware, we did sort of that. You could call it a novelty or a gimmick, I suppose, but the hunt for the secret base of Jeremiah.
Which I have no hair left on the side of my head now. Thank you very much.
I actually, and I did, I think I might have posted this on the forums as well, but I did watch the stream where you guys were sort of, first you know, you have to figure out first that there is something to figure out. And I sort of watched that discovery and then watched through as you were sort of, you know, working with some of the other viewers and some of the people on the panel to sort of decipher that riddle. And we don't necessarily want to do the same riddle every time where it's just like find the 5 banners, because that would wear thin, I think, pretty quickly if we played the same game of Where's Waldo every time. But we do want to keep looking for ways to make things a little different or a little interesting. And with the upcoming event, I think we found a different way that will feel radically different. It's not at all, a hunt for the hidden object thing. But we have found some ways to do some different stuff. And I think now that we're trying to pursue this, where we want to do these little things just to make things more interesting and not necessarily, pardon me, the carbonation. There isn't necessarily additional money to be made by adding a secret base at the end. I mean, as you guys were aware, when you made it to the base, the other faction leaders show up to help you with the encounter. So it wasn't even about coin, as it sometimes is positioned. We really just want to make things more interesting and more fun and add these little layers. And to that extent, when we do things like this, there's obviously a risk when you're trying a bunch of different things of things going poorly. Of like, oh, well, this idea didn't turn out to be so good. But in our case, we really did want, and we want with the October event, to do more interesting things, and we're gonna take some gambles where we keep trying new and interesting little things. So what I can say is there are elements to this event that will be familiar, and there are elements to it which will be unlike anything that you've ever seen before in an event. Not necessarily massive in scope, but keep things interesting, just like we did with Jeremiah's secret base.
Excellent.
So yeah, we're trying some stuff, and I'm sorry I can't give more details quite yet, but I hope you'll all be happy. There's definitely some. It'll be interesting. I'll be watching the stream. You can count it as you guys are messing about, shall we say?
I love the War Rig flamethrower.
This is insane. I'm watching it. This is.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
pardon
yeah,
the
yeah.
pun.
I love this
I'm
thing.
I'm just saying, pardon the pun, but holy smokes!
No, the new flame tech for the War Rig.
Yeah.
I had to buy it. It's the first thing I had to buy.
Yeah, I got.
So what does it replace that double launcher that it had before, whatever that gun
Yeah,
was?
it's just look at the. It's got looks like it might have even more range. It's just a visual.
Oh, I think because it gets thrown, it has that effect.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I'm sure
I think
it
it's
gives
the
you that
same range,
optical
but I think it. Yeah, but that's a kick-ass optical illusion.
Yeah,
Sorry, it is. That is so cool that you bought it and put it on for the show. Sorry, wrong thinker. This is just kick-ass. See, this is when you guys get shit right, and it's just like, oh my god, look at that thing.
Yeah, that's great.
I love my Omega War Rig.
Speaking of a lot of shit getting set on fire, there's been no dates for those the Raikai bases. Can you speak anything about that, or is it secret?
That is to say, the let me check to see what we actually said there before I do anything stupid.
Oink, 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 bacon brigade.
I mean, pretty obviously, we're doing a lot of fire-related things.
Lonnie,
Wrong
tune. Seriously, the name of that tune. I'm sorry. Go ahead, wrong thinker.
No,
That's why I'm not
just saying all the fire tech that you're starting to notice. That indicates something for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's not like there's novelty in acting like it's a secret. So I will maintain that novelty.
Oh dear, I just logged on to see that offer. Oh boy.
All I can say
Which
is
offer?
that if you're new to
The
the
Omega
game,
Phantom for 299 gold.
I know.
I
Now,
already
I
got
don't
I
have no.
love my level 40 Omega. The Omega Phantom is an ungodly unit. You got to get it. If it's 299 gold, it is damn well worth it. Pass it up if you got the money. Do not pass it.
Well, I do have just shy of. I do have a little.
It is my birthday. It is my birthday today.
it is Eddie King's birthday. Come on, guys, pony up. Seriously, Doc, you need me to doctor up your PayPal account, honey.
Yeah. All funds are appropriate to the Dr. Phil Walker.
I don't have it. I'm buying it right now. Seriously. I mean, I would screen
I'm
share and show
really
you.
considering kicking
I'm
the
buying
that
it right
button.
now. I'm doing it right now.
So this isn't parts. This is just a straight unlock.
Straight Omega Phantom.
Straight Omega. Holy moly!
Yes.
Oh my god!
Exactly.
My girlfriend's definitely getting that. She's got.
I'm gonna have to reload my Phantom, but holy crap!
This is one of the times I will say that the marketing team did get this right.
Yeah, that is
200, 300 gold for the Omega Phantom. That's a reasonable price.
That's
That's going to save you a lot of time. I mean, just to take it to Elite is 80 parts minus.
Yeah, you gotta get 160 parts to get it to Omega. That's.
I broke. I bought it. It's mine.
I would have bought that thing in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I'm about to break.
on your account, Phil.
I don't have
I'm
this
about
open.
to break. I'm about to break. There it is. Touching.
It's either be late on the mortgage payment or buy the Omega Phantom.
I can. I can screen share. You can watch my purchase. I mean, it's up to you guys. You guys have never seen me purchase anything except for the mistakes I made.
No gas in the car this week. Omega Phantom.
You gotta watch the purchase.
Yeah, but Timmy, the exercise is good for your legs.
Oh yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Seriously, you gotta tell them kudos on this because 300 gold for an Omega.
No, that's a great deal. That's a great deal.
That's the greatest deal I've ever seen ever.
I also like some of the stuff Wrong Thinker that you guys have put in. You finally put some more SF tech in the gear shop this month. I like that because they were at one point they were the bee's knees. They were the best units around. Now especially a lot of smaller level players still have that stuff, and to not have that, it's pretty tough. So I just spent a whole bunch of medals just buying a few things.
I know some players are also looking for like velocity rounds, stuff like that for howlers. It's like it's not the epic tech that goes on the howlers, or like the driving ace, or the what is the bloodhound round? Yep. But the ones that go at the bottom, like the velocity rounds, the nitro injectors, the golds for that, I haven't seen them forever.
You haven't seen any what? Sorry.
The velocity rounds, or like I think there was some nitrous injectors in there a while back, but I haven't seen no velocity rounds or some other stuff that goes on the tech, or like target lock. There's another one.
Right.
There's a couple more in there I can't think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah, we definitely want to. It's sort of a juggling act because on the one hand, I think it's pretty blatant that we want more players to sort of be in the faction unit space. I mean, that is what we consider the modern tier of the game. But we also definitely don't want to deprive people of important intermediary steps. So there's definitely sort of a juggling act there about what the right content to provide is to both to get all tiers of players sort of happy while still trying to encourage people to sort of live more in the faction space and to help players graduate to that space. So yeah, we're definitely.
I would be running howlers in my base if I didn't want the faction buff. Faction buffs rock.
They really do. More Spartans. I need more Spartans.
Yeah, I feel really good that we now have that the Spartans can kind of exist in the game now. They definitely were a bit short for sure. Quite a bit.
To be perfectly honest, before the change was made, they were a giant sack of shit.
Yeah.
Can't argue. So I'm glad that they're now no longer that sack of shit. I much prefer them being viable. And one of the things, when you look at factions in general, and I know that there are some aspects of the faction content that is more contentious than other elements of it. But one of the goals that we had with factions was actually PvP oriented, where we wanted to create a world where there was more diversity in players' bases, so that when you are attacking each other, it doesn't just feel like you're doing the same thing again and again.
Yeah.
And the factions are one of the ways which we actually want to do that. So part of the reason that it's important to us to encourage people to pick a faction that matches their style is that you get more variety. So it's like if you're attacking someone who's aligned with the Sentinels and has acolytes in their bunkers, you have to treat that base differently than if you were attacking a Corpus base with Spartans in the bunkers. And also, from a base construction perspective, when you're designing your base and deciding what turrets you want, the turrets you want might change based upon what you have in your bunkers. So there's going to be even more variety there, especially when you consider the support turrets, which we've recently added in, which we really feel adds sort of this new sort of layer. You know, what do you want to pair up with your heavies? And whether or not you use them, do you use the absorptions and so forth? Again, it depends on what you feel your base's strengths and weaknesses are, which are now actually influenced by your faction selection.
I don't know about anybody else, but I can smell it in the air. Support turrets as a prize. New support turret. I can smell it.
Okay.
I can do it after this long. After this long, I can do this stuff with my eyes closed, man. Come on.
I'm sorry. I am not saying a word. I was saying a word.
I can do this with my eyes closed.
Let's just say, Data King, you may have been gone for a while, but you haven't lost any sense of direction when it comes to this game.
I have not skipped a beat. Let me tell you.
Not even a tiny beat.
I will say this: when it comes to the support turrets, because our goals were not to just like, if we were to add additional support turrets, it would be really important that we didn't release a support turret that was better than one of the other ones. They're really supposed to be a choice. So we want to make sure that anything additional that we add is a meaningful choice, because we do understand, and they were designed with this idea that, yeah, you have to give up one of your other standard platforms to use these. So they've got to be meaningful and they've got to be distinct. So we definitely are not going to flood the market with these. We want people to sort of want to see how people use them. We want to, if we add an additional one, we want to be smart about how we do it and make sure that we continue to provide those meaningful choices. Because again, support turrets are another way that we really wanted to encourage our players to have more variety in their bases. And what I don't want, and what none of us want from a design perspective, none of us want to, we don't want a perfect base defense. We don't want the community to decide this is the exact way to make your base, because that's just unhealthy. It'd be in a collectible card game if it were this is the only viable deck that you could build. It just makes for a bad game. So what we want to do is create strengths and weaknesses in the bases that allow you to adjust to who's ever beating on you lately. If you're getting hit by one thing, then you can build defenses to that, force your opponent.
Turn off your share, honey. Turn off your share.
Sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
None of that went out. I could see it, and that was enough.
Sorry.
Wrong Thinker almost mentioned Pokemon on Unshackled.
No, he wasn't talking that piece of shit. He was talking magic.
He was
talking magic, you bloody noob. That's strike one. Don't mention the unmentionable P word.
Unmentionable P word.
Yeah, I got
it. I'm glad it would be something different as far as the support turrets, because to be quite frank and quite honest, I've seen a lot of misuse of those things. I've seen people I've literally seen a guy, not to mention, I'm not going to mention anyone's name specifically, but I've seen a person, and it's actually more than one person do this, devote 8 turrets to support turrets and put them on 4 hunters. And to think to myself, and to look at that and go, what they're sacrificing for those 4 specific turrets opens their base up to so many types of attack and makes their base that much more weak. So, to have more variety and diversity at those support turrets, it's probably going to be something welcome. Because then they don't feel as if, oh man, well I got to use all these for this one turret. Well, I can use this for this one, and not sacrifice so many. So I think that would be a good move. I'm intrigued to see what it's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we come up with going forward.
Or have already come up with and just not letting us know.
That's also a possibility.
I mean, we did.
Let me actually put the question to you a little bit. Like, so we have to talk about the three we've got. We've got the fusion turret, which of course boosts damage, but more so against unique units. We have the absorption, which basically prevents the turret it's linked to from taking damage, but also gives a status immunity. And we have the viral turret, which is sort of an anti-drone turret. Are there any other support turret types? Are there any other holes that you feel could be filled with a support turret, strategically speaking?
To be honest,
a couple more extra turns.
One at a time, one at a time.
Okay, I would like to see a support turret that grants selected turret the ability to shock attacking units.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
How about
that would be cool to me.
How about one that changes its attack type from single to area?
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Or changes it from
like
targeting ground and air to anti-air only.
Right, to help
I think the last time we had extra turns added was back like CC 8.
Yeah.
And we got from 16 to 18 turns. I would like to see a couple extra turns come in since this has come out.
Well, yeah, we brought that up before. We thought with the additional CC upgrade level that to counterbalance the amount of support turrets that were going to be, used to bring in 2 extra turrets, so it would maintain a more uniform base design potential. I thought that would be something good. And my idea for a support turret would just be an overall boost to whatever turret you place it upon. Something for the avalanche, for the AA, whether it's an increased DPS or an increased rate of fire or a small percentage of either or, I think would probably, because if you're going to be sacrificing a turret, that turret in which you're going to use it for, even, it would open up, different opportunities for someone to not just throw it on a heavy turret, but to put it on a regular turret as well and boost its damage output since you're sacrificing one already.
Right.
Something like that. It would just to be a broad spectrum buff to whatever one you set it to.
Yeah.
My personal 2 cents on it would have been, I know a lot of players were looking for a support turret that would, grant air-only attack to a weapon system so that you could actually go after the hunter. But I mean about the Herald. But I would rather have seen a CC platform, a CC turret to go for air only. That was a little bit more powerful, than what we have right now.
It's a great idea as well.
What it puts out for the Herald just isn't sufficient.
Right.
At least not for the Omega Herald version.
Right.
Now,
so what do you think? Just a one single turret to be able to do that?
Well, I'm just saying something that puts a little bit more. I mean, we have our Hades, we have the support turrets doing additional stuff, especially with the fusion on certain things. But having a CC mount, that is basically formulated specifically as an anti-Herald. Because I'm sure we've got, hopefully, dreaming, many, many more years of this game to go. And there's going to be more advanced, stronger air units that might fall under the same sequence of air-specific units are the only ones that can target it. Or there'll be a something like that. But as far as the getting back on track here, the support turrets themselves, I was thinking of a shock turret, something that would grant shock, or something that would specifically boost the resiliency and the health of the turret that it's connected to. So a buff to its overall health and ability to take damage, or, and this was a real pipe dream. This came from another friend we were chatting. A turret that would give stealth to the turret that it's linked to. If that would be a possibility that you could actually end up hiding, if say you've changed 4 of your standard platforms to support platforms,
right?
These platforms would link to, say, an avalanche, but your avalanche and that are cloaked.
Right.
Until you get within a certain range parameter similar to all our other stealth units, then it would come up, and then so it would be able to put out output that you wouldn't see. You're taking damage, you don't realize it, and then you get on top of it, and now all of a sudden, oh, there it comes uncloaked. Now you start attacking the platform. But if your unit was to die, it goes back into being cloaked because now you're out of range, until you've killed that support turret off. Now, if you kill the support turret first, obviously the cloaking ability is lost to the avalanche that you've linked to. Now that's fully exposed until it's dead. I know that's hard to grasp. I'm not eloquent in explaining.
I mean, I think I follow the general idea, the premise of, you know, one of the things that I know a lot of the community enjoys is, you know, you have some surprises in your base. A simple example is just the fact that you can hide shit behind your CC, right? Like, that's still kind of fun to have that little extra surprise there that the person doesn't see coming. So some kind of a stealth turret that could facilitate that with other turrets is a very interesting idea, for sure.
All right.
Thinking, how about combine like both ideas and make like a CC support turret that goes, you know, actually goes on the CC turret itself and replaces the normal CC turrets, but gives like a small or a specific buff to like your entire base. So like maybe like a 20% damage to everything, or like a you know, all your turrets or all your attacking units deal shock, or they all deal concussion.
Well, here's
that'd be
well,
pretty crazy.
Here's another subject to that. With our weapons lab, having our weapons lab and having the things in there that, you know, give off certain things, and, you know, we have units that give shock, and we have things that give the stun, and we have now basically EMP that will facilitate the units that attack you no longer can attack until, you know, that subject's worn off.
Right.
That might be a thing that you could put on, something that just basically looks like a Tesla coil that goes onto that turret mount. Now, it doesn't give off like doesn't give off like the flood turret or whatever, but instead it covers a large swath of your base, and units that come into range lose the ability to attack, similar to, you know, the blackout, what it does. Now you've got that along with using you know, your hammer turret or your anti-missile bastion inside of your weapons lab. So now you've basically been given a second weapons lab platform, instead of, you know, having to truly pick between either the Tesla, or either the hammer, or either, you know, the anti-missile bastion. Now you can have basically the anti-missile bastion and you know, that just for the CC. Now that's not related to the support turret system, but that's just.
I like the idea of it going in the weapons lab. This way you don't flood too much in with the support turrets, to just put an additional.
Well, that would be like a CC mount. Yeah, that would be a CC mounted thing.
Well, it could even be a timed. It could even be a timed effect. You know, just, you know, you put something in that just buffs all your damage output, or grants a stealth ability as long as your radio tower's still standing or something. You know, it could be tied in with something. There's a couple different ways you could go, so you don't flood that whole support turret new feature. This way it leaves other things open. This way you can actually have a new support turret, and you can have something else for the weapons lab, you know, simultaneously at the same time, so you don't feel as if you're, you know, pounding the support turret thing down everybody's throat, and you still, you know, get a little bit of both. I think that would probably be the best way to go.
My rationalization for trying to do things like, instead of adding an extra platform, I know, like you said, with the new CC, we were hoping maybe we'd get 2 extra platforms and have an even number. But at this point, for those players, not unlike myself, that haven't fully expanded their base, you do get constrained to designs where you just don't necessarily have enough room to spread things out where you want. And though I've a million times, I'm not a hypocrite, I've said I've wanted more wall blocks, I've wanted, you know, an even number of wall blocks, that's my OCD, and I've wanted, you know, an extra platform or 2, and changing
one bunker, one power plant, so I can have my fucking base symmetrical.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean,
it's a lot of OCD in this room.
If you add the extra power plant, if you add 2 more regular standard platforms, yes, then again, you could turn those platforms into support turrets that benefit you. But you're adding more footprint into your base. You've gotten an extra power plant recently. We've got the extra helipad now that takes up space. There's only so much land mass that we can build on. You're starting to put yourself in a position where the B word in the game starts to creep out of control. Unless there was another base expansion put into the system, and I don't know what that would entail because I'm not a computer person. I point, click, and blow things up. That's me.
Dave Venom, shut up. David, speak.
No, it's all right.
Out with it.
Some of you guys have come up with the ideas that I've already started, but with the next level CC, you add. Yes, everybody's beating the support turrets to death right now, but instead of doing a secondary upgrade for support turrets, you allow us to do one support turret on the CC for the either it be the flood, the flat, the storm, the the blitz. Let us have something for that. That would be a good idea for CC upgrade. This way we don't have to sit there and spend another 30 days upgrading another defense platform. You can use the initial ones that we have now.
Yeah, I do think the idea of doing like something with the CC on that front is pretty cool. Actually, it's interesting because it's such a strong choice. Like part of the value of a defensive choice is that it affects the way an attacker thinks about engaging with you. So because you've only got that one CC platform, one command center, if you had something there that had an effect on the rest of your base, but you had to pick between a couple of options, it could really affect how people have to deal with your base. And that's a really cool kind of defense, because what you want to do is, again, as a defender, you want to force people outside of their comfort zone. But as an attacker, you also want interesting and diverse targets so that you aren't doing the same damn thing again. So I think anything associated with that is good. And admittedly, the current turrets almost do that, but they're not necessarily strong enough. When you look at the current storm or flood levels. So doing something like a global support turret for the CC would be very interesting.
Of course, when you are doing obviously the global support turret is kind of one of those OP ideas that immediately screams in my head. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
But speaking to that, because somebody had said something in the YouTube chat, we were talking about specifically mix things up a little bit. And I just want to I'll bring it up and I'll let you speak to it. You can just, because I don't know what you guys have planned anything different, but I like that the buildings have different kinds of footprints. I know it messes with people's OCDs, but I like that they have different footprints. And I get the players that are non-corners and they don't have, and I take that for granted because my base is max expanded, but Jano, Data King, Dragon, some of the legends of the game when I first started playing War Commander said one of the first things you need to do, Skip, is get your base expanded. So I did. I didn't understand what that meant when I was a freaking 23, but right. They were like, that's the best thing you can do to coin, and then they told me what to do from there. So speaking to the people who don't have base expansion, and it's constantly brought up in forums, and it's been reiterated on the show. If you don't have any plans to change any of the footprints of the buildings, I would like to just say back to that is that having those buildings different sizes and spaces gains you all kinds of different kinds of advantages. And I don't want to make the mistake of sharing my screen again like I had and then forgetting to turn my screen off. But even my wall placements helps me to remember, because you can click on a turret and you can see what your range is. But I can actually use the corners of my buildings to indicate to myself where my range is. When you click on a turret and it gives you that circle range, I use wall pieces, and if I can't spare a wall piece, I'll use a building or I'll use a refinery. So I don't want all the buildings to be the same size. I like it like that because the fact that there's a building there and it's big as it is and it produces the last stand defenders that it does means that whatever is hitting that area to attack my last stand defenders gives my turret time to do the firing that it needs to do, or my units the time to do the firing that it needs to do, because they're within range. So I figured maybe I would bring that, just to bring that up because it came up in the YouTube chat. Are there any plans for the non-coiners that don't have these big base expansions to possibly give them the ability to change the footprint of some of their buildings? Or is it on the plate at all that any of these buildings will have their sizes changed? And if it's not, okay, fine.
In the base editor, an option that lets us save base designs and base setups.
That's definitely a possible request that I would actually really like to see. I mean, I don't think there's a reason to not let people
I think the biggest one, and you can see from my screen share, is that I still have to expand my base. I think I've only expanded it once or twice. Now I have every building possibly out there in the utmost, tucked away place, all the way in the corner. Every maximum area is taking place. The biggest thing for me is that I want to put buildings away that I don't use. Now I want to take all of my oil and metal storage or metal pumps and stash them, and I'm unable to do that. That would open up, an additional area, where I can take things.
You can get rid of those. You can if you don't want to generate oil, you don't want to generate metal, you don't want to generate xanthium anymore, you don't want to generate energy or wind, because that's what the thing is in Battle Pirates. You can scrap it. Now you can stash them to use them later, but you can scrap them. Of course, you're not getting the benefits of generating them, but then that just gives you more room. I mean, Battle Pirates is tiles on water. So to me, the only reason why I'm bringing up Battle Pirates is because the equation that I'm trying to make is that it's for the non-coiner that doesn't have their base expanded. If they could stash the buildings, that would allow them to have or scrap the buildings that they don't use. We don't even have a scrap. I can't even get rid of my generators. I don't need my generators anymore. I go get my own resources. So if you could just maybe even make some of those things an option to get rid of and just scrap the building, because then that would give them more room in their base as opposed to let's give everybody a free base expansion option, and they have to take advantage of it in a month. I mean, that could be a nightmare. And then you got people bitching because they were on vacation, or they took a break from the game, or I missed that. We would say snooze, you lose. But you get my point. If it's a non-essential building like a generator that you could get rid of, I mean, obviously a power plant is essential. If you understand the game, having power plants scrapped is stupid. But a resource generator would be a perfect thing for the non-coiner. And I'm talking at all levels, low levels, mid-levels to high levels that don't coin. That gives them more room to expand their defenses, if that makes any sense.
I always thought that when upgrading your CC, you should receive a base expansion anyway. 5%. Your purchase is 10%. Your standard base footprint should increase by 5% with every CC going up the line. And then these 10% would still be available. But there were and you could adjust the price to meet the full max standard and the percentages. I don't think it would be that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But I think that it would help a lot. I mean, if it was up to me, I would stash all of my oil and metal pumps. I would upgrade three power plants to the highest possible ability. Stash the other two as well as stash those. I mean, to be quite frank, I would stash the armory building. That would be out of here. And if I wasn't in need, if I was at that level of a player and I didn't need all 4 thoriums out, I would stash them.
Right.
I mean, if they were max level, I could hold just as much as I needed to be held, at any given point in time, et cetera, whatever it may be.
Well, I understand that, and that appeases certainly what I was saying earlier. But again, does that then alters what you need to kill for your bubble? Now it's a smaller, easier base. You're going to get flattened faster. That opens up another can of worms.
It changes the code of your spreadsheet of your base. And I agree with the percentages of what it would need in order to actually, because every single one of those, I mean, I get it. Let's just say, okay, let's start small. Let's micro this down. If just you could it would help everyone a lot if you could just get rid of your resource generators.
Yeah.
So because that would give a ton of people, yes, just those. If you just started with one thing, the resource, and they have to be a minuscule percentage of the percentage of what it takes to trash your base. I mean, seriously, I've had people hit me all the time, and that barely even counts towards the 1 star. I mean, I think you have to hit all of them to even get like a 2 to 4% towards your 1 star. So if they could start with something like that. Now, wrong thinker, I don't want you to think that I say let's not do a base expansion because, hey, we're going into the last quarter of the year. maybe you could talk to the marketing team. I think it's about time that we have a base expansion sale. But please don't make it for just like a week. You know, give people time to be able to, and not only that, it's not even about vacation. If you offer something like that, you don't give them a heads up, and it is a sale, give them a chance to go out and earn some overtime to pay for it, or not pay a bill and pay for it. You know what I'm trying to say? Or pay for it and then have to pay catch up on the bill. You know, you get me. You see what I'm saying?
I do, and I think, I mean, all of these things are definitely different solutions to one core problem. You know, you're talking about whether or not it's a sale or the stashing of resources, which is all just dealing with the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on in your base, and you're dealing with a confined amount of space. So I definitely hear that concern. I can say that we in terms of mechanical changes to the way the base is set up, there isn't an immediate plan for that. That doesn't at all mean it's not going to happen. It means you just haven't had time to think about that particular that issue, even though I know players are facing that. You know, I think obviously you've seen where we've focused a lot of our efforts lately, and we've done a lot on the anti-cheating front and so forth. And as we move into our sort of final quarter of this year and the first quarter of next year, we're going to start to be able to look at things more like what you've just described and sort of try to identify how we make that how we try to address those problems like the base size issue and just that constrained, congested feeling, and just on an entirely different, you know, sort of mindset for that. I just think that bases in general, because there's so many buildings, kind of do feel, and I actually really like Data's layout because it's spread out enough that you can see what's going on, but a lot of people's bases feel so congested that it's actually kind of annoying. To kind of have to deal with this congested mass. It just feels strange.
It is. It's like I have to move half of my base to one side of my base in order to redo the layout of the defenses, and then I have to cross my fingers and hope I have enough room to strategically set my base up in a manner in which I'm not susceptible to one specific kind of attack.
Yep.
Like the way I had it before, where my walls were out there, they were spaced when I had all of my turrets touching and tight to the CC, that the splash from a jug wouldn't hit it. But what that did is it made the Herald come in, and he hit one corner and knocked out a quarter of my base because of the mega bomb. So it was like, do I defend my base now versus just a Herald, or do I try to defend my base versus a jug? So it's like I'm at the point where it's like, do I even need walls at this point? Like, you know what I mean? It's like I take that whole level and you know, I upgrade my walls. That's great, but I have no space to use them, so I can't utilize my walls because it leaves me susceptible to a specific kind of attack because I don't have the room.
Right.
You know, it takes the strategy out of the game when you don't have room to operate.
So. Right. There's a famous traditional puzzle called the Towers of Hanoi, which if you're not familiar with it, you can Google, but it's the 3 pegs with like a pyramid on it, and you have to move one piece and then another piece. And the whole way the puzzle works is you're trying to move a pyramid from one peg to another peg, but never put a big piece on top of a small piece. Again, you could Google that if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But
no, I do.
Yeah, it's definitely like that idea of, you know, you need room to maneuver, basically. And I do get that. I definitely get that. It might even be something where, yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different solutions that we could pursue. Everything that's mentioned, there's probably other things like, you know, you can, when you're in like build mode, you can move things outside the build space freely. You just can't finalize their placement, kind of thing, so that you could like just move everything off your base and then play in the base space and things like that.
That would be absolutely wonderful. That would be perfect.
Have a chat with the guy who, I don't know if he's still there. Have a chat with the guy who wrote the original Battle Pirates designer, the base designer that they have, or just rip it straight out. It's one of those things. The Battle Pirate designer is intricate enough where you can actually do that. You get a sort of a white box, which is your base, and then a bunch of boxes outside where you can put stuff and move stuff around.
Right.
And as you build your base, you put everything back in. It's a really intricate design piece to use, and even though I don't play that thing anymore, but it's always sat there, and it's one of the best features of that game when it comes to base designing. And War Commander is 90% about the design of your base when it comes to PvE and PvP and events.
No, we definitely come up a bit short when it comes to the sort of the base design conveniences and things to help sort of optimize that, because we definitely don't want like your base to have limitations because you can't effectively build your base. Like that's I definitely understand that that's like super crummy for sure. So yeah, that might actually be something where we go to the engineering crew and ask them sort of, hey, here's a problem, here's a whole series of solutions. Which one of these is the easiest one that we think we can actually get into the schedule here? Because any of these things that we've talked about would be helpful. So we might not, do all of them right out of the gate, but if we can start to make a dent there and just start to make everyone's lives a little easier, I definitely think that's worth pursuing.
It is. It is. Lonnie, you got a question?
Yeah. I got two questions, but I'm gonna stick to one here. The reduced in difficulties and different things. I want to go into the metal bases. Now, last year we had a metal base. I can't remember what the name it was, but it was the zombie base. We got 15K medals and we got a fireball medal. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen none of those bases around, but the difficulty in the base, it's like you're not reaping the right reward for it. It takes a good 20-25 minutes to do a 90 medal base, right. And getting 15K medals out of it just doesn't cut it. In the base that the base that we had before, we was able to do it in one attack and we was getting 15K medals, and that was nice.
Right.
But now that this base has been in for probably 2.5 months, and it's just been, there's been different changes to it, added a tank here or there, or added a gun here and there.
Right.
But the last one that was easy, it was only in for 3 weeks, I think.
Right.
And I was wondering if the reducing difficulty is going to change soon for the medals, or have a week.
Here's what I can say. We'll be doing, after October, we'll be doing an evaluation of sort of to make sure that the various medals and resource spaces that are on the map are a reasonable balance of, risk versus reward, the classic sort of question. And I don't disagree with you. I think that the value proposition on the hardest metal base right now, on that 90, is not great. So that's something that I'd simply ask that, bear with us till we hit November, but we'll be doing some assessment in early November to make sure that those value props are sort of in alignment with what our payouts are. So, for sure.
Well, even then, like for my liking, the difficulty of that base would be all right if the payout was 10 times what it is. Like the difficulty you got for 15,000 medals, I could see it for 150,000 medals a base that hard. Okay, perfect, whatever. But 15,000.
If it was 40, 45, or 50 for that base, it'd be fine. It'd be perfect.
Or if we got like a harder base that would pay out something really big, because I mean, when you look at the gear store, for example, at the moment I've still got all the Roland tech to buy. I've got one Ardra tech to buy. I've got those 3 brand new fire tech to buy.
Right.
And that's going to set me back 2.8 million medals.
A lot of medals.
I'm not going to be able to get that on 15K payouts.
Or if they release 55s once a week, just one time a week, that would be nice. CC only 55s once a week, just one time a week.
Yeah,
that would help out a lot.
Yeah, I'll talk to the rest of the design team about that, and sort of, because we've got a couple of level designers on the team, and we can talk to them about difficulty, and I can review with Golden Doodle your
face when you said that.
It's a little bit physically painful. I'm not gonna lie, but that's partly why he went with that name.
Okay, so how many gold member jokes have been made since he got hired?
Plenty. Yeah, I mean, he's a really good guy. He's got a kind of a nutty sense of humor, which I think comes through pretty clearly. The name was too much for somebody.
That didn't sound good.
Just left, apparently. I heard somebody leave.
Sorry.
Someone broke their mic.
That was my keyboard. Sorry.
Yippie's a little drunk.
I've had too many glasses of wine.
Well, there you go.
I'm making up for Wrong Thinker's flu.
Well, and it's much.
I'm drinking for me, and I'm drinking for you.
I'm sober. I have to teach in the morning. I hate it.
Have you guys looked? Has there been any talk about the honor payout for the higher levels? Because I'm a 47, and it's rough getting the honor of that. When you go to a 45 and you only get, no matter what they have gotten, I go to a 45 and I get like a 45 honor, and that's it. Anything above that, I got to hit 46s, 47s, 48s, and 49s to get any decent honor, no matter what honor they got.
So here's, I'll talk to that a little bit, actually. So we actually did have a conversation the other day if we wanted to try and address that for round 2. And we actually made a decision that maybe you won't like, but we decided it was unfair to mess with the rules between rounds of the same Warpath.
Right,
so,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I think in a future Warpath we might look at ways to address that. And as our lovable Golden Doodle did say, we're not going to be doing a Warpath every month. That's not our current plan. We want them to be meaningful when we do them, but we don't want to just do them all the time and burn people out on them. We want to keep them kind of a fun, exciting thing when they do show up. So for the next Warpath, we will be evaluating the honor formula that we use for that exchange. And what I can say is the formula considers 3 things, which I mentioned to Skip the other day, but it looks at the level of the defender, because right now the best metric we have for base strength, and I'm not saying it's perfect because it's absolutely not, but the best metric we have for base strength is the level of the base. The more structures and turrets and so forth you have upgraded. So it considers that. It considers the difference in level between the attacker and the defender. So unsurprisingly, hitting someone at a higher level than you is worth more, hitting someone at a lower level is worth less. And this is the component of it that is obviously having the negative influence on our highest level players. And then it also considers honor itself. It considers not the basic amount of honor the person has, but the difference in honor between the attacker and the defender. So if you have 10,000 honor and the defender has 10,000 honor, if both of you have 10,000 honor, the way that factors into the formula is exactly the same way as if you both had 5,000 honor. So it's looking at that difference. So if you are a high-level player, that does mean that you're always suffering a little bit from the fact that you're hitting down. But it does also mean that if you're hitting down 2 or 3 levels, that the value of that player by default is still theoretically higher than, say, a person who's level 35 and hitting 3 levels down, because a 32 player is going to be worth less inherently than a level 42 player. So I guess that's a really roundabout way of saying we're not going to be making a change to this second part of Warpath. However, the formula is constructed with the intention of providing a good, fair fight for players of all levels. We didn't just want uppers to totally dominate it. We wanted there to be a real competition, a skill-based competition. And I think it's close. And I don't think it was a home run, but I don't think it was a whiff either. And so we do see...
There's not too much room between the difference there, but there's still a medium there that's not met.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we have the opportunity to, when we do get to another Warpath, you can rest assured we'll make at least some adjustments to try and address that concern. But again, we also don't think it was a complete whiff, but we think we can improve on it.
No, not at all. Come on, guys, seriously, let's speak up and support the guy.
Even though I didn't agree with all the payouts, I loved it. I absolutely freaking loved it.
Sorry. I mean, please let him hear that from you guys. I mean, go across the panel real quickly.
I came across a 42 that had like 13,000 honor. I had 4,000. I didn't get nothing from him, so I just passed him on. But then I came across a 50 that had no honor, and he gave me like 300. So I already got my 50 scoped out, and I done bubble them 36 hours before the event starts, so that they don't get a bubble right before the event starts.
Yep.
Level 50 dead bases. So that's the ones I'm looking for.
And that's just for people who watch the show.
That's the big issue, though. We're not. Nobody's brought it up. It's the players who no longer play, who are high levels in the 40s that do not play, and their bases are so far in the past that it makes it so much easier. That's why you're seeing such low-level players at such a high level.
He's giving it away. Daggone it! I've already got my targets targeted.
But that's why it's
come on.
But that's
so everybody knows. Just a little advice: don't go out and bubble dead bases today or tomorrow until Warpath starts. Because if you go do it right now, it's going to be bubbled 18 hours into the event.
Don't do it.
How do you think I got 6,000? I walked around with my Herald the whole time. I have a bunch of new bases.
8,400. I did exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
That's why you're seeing level 28,
Poor Phil was having a cow. He was having a cow.
All right. Calm down.
You guys get level 47, you fuckers.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I do agree that there is a little bit of it that diminishes the skill-based nature a touch by sort of what you described, like those dead bases that are just sitting around. And to be entirely honest, there's reasons why having those bases sit around are not healthy for the game in general. But we're always a little bit careful because, we do get returning players, so we don't want to just scrap their stuff or disappear their bases. There's a certain threshold where, like, if somebody's a level, like you have those level 2 sort of stub accounts that just kind of percolate into the game that are just, nobody cares about them. The people who made them don't care about them. But for somebody that worked up into the 40s, there is a chance that they'll come back, and so we have to be a little bit more careful about what we do with those bases and how we store that data and so forth. So that's part of the reason that some of those sit around. But we probably are due for a pass of evaluating, again, not before Warpath, don't worry, or round 2, rather. But for evaluating and ultimately removing some of those bases that are no longer really contributing to the game.
On the Warpath topic, will all future Warpaths be done in 2 rounds? And if so, why?
Good question. So the answer is actually that's not set in stone. We are open to doing different approaches, and we might solicit more feedback from the community. As some of you might be aware, we've done like some surveys and stuff after events, so we try and get feedback from people about how they felt about different things and what they might like for the future. So I would say nothing is set in stone. The 2-round idea was to, in this case, help players to acclimate to the event and understand it so that when we got to round 2, they felt like they really understood how to use the system and how to engage with each other and how to play. Because there are some unique rules, right? There's unique rules regarding the permanent damage protection that you get that forces you to only hit each player once, that you really have to understand that and think about it. So we didn't want to totally punish people who didn't quite get the rules out of the gate by saying, haha, joke's on you, you lost all your good targets. And that's kind of why we did round 2, is because that resets that permanent protection. So you technically get a second chance to hit everybody all over again. And we thought that was important to give everybody a fair shot at the leaderboards. But yeah, going forward, remains to be seen.
Did the leaderboards get worked on? Oh, I'm sorry, but just real quick because you brought that up. Did the leaderboards get worked on? Because, there were some issues. Well, of course, KXL crashed, but the leaderboards, there were some issues with the leaderboards where they just didn't work. And again, you and I talked about this individually, that if you're going to make an event where the leaderboard becomes so crucial and it doesn't work, it's kind of like, everybody knows that the leaderboards have had problems for quite a long time. But then if you base an event where the leaderboard has to then become a crucial tool, it's kind of like, who didn't talk about the elephant in the room before they made an event, based around something where you would have to use that as a tool. So do you know if the engineering team worked on that? Did they address a lot of that stuff that happened during the event?
So we have...
I can tell you now the leaderboard works again.
Well, that is useful. Sorry, you said it did work again, or
it does work.
It does, but it broke.
It didn't work yesterday, but it works now.
Yes, and it was kind of working better before the mini event happened. Now I can't pinpoint for sure if it was because of the KXL crash that then it was wonky, or was it because of the event and then the leaderboard got wonky because it started to look wonky. And then KXL crashed. So then it was like the leaderboard was like foodboard. But a lot of things were foodboard, like chat. There were a lot of things that were foodboard after KXL crashed. So I guess my question is obviously that I know that this isn't your technical realm, but I know you're going to take this to somebody. Yeah. Can you confirm? I mean, it's fixed now, but are they watching for that? So when this kicks off, that we're not going to have a repeat of last week. I know that they don't want KXL to crash, but that somebody's actually going to have eyes on the ground to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I think we're keeping our eyes on it. That's my understanding. In terms of the actual leaderboard performance and any adjustments, I assume you already went through the. I didn't catch the very opening of the show, but I assume you went through the update notes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So we did try to address some of the leaderboard issues we were having, and hopefully we've done a better job at making them more stable. But also, hopefully, we won't lose KXL this weekend either. Mm-hmm. I think we're in a better place. You know, what gets you is always the unknown. There's you know, in software development and game design, there's invariably stuff can fall on your head from a direction you didn't see coming. You know, that's just sort of
literally.
I would like to believe that we're in a slightly better position now than we were before the previous Warpath.
Awesome. Good. Go ahead and go to that next issue. How about the Herald bases? Throw it out there, guys. Let's switch gears. Any plans for Herald bases?
So what I will say is within the next month, you will have some opportunity to get Herald parts.
Woohoo!
Good.
What about Onslaught and Invasion? What's
from
on
the world map or from a coin package?
What was that, Godscope?
I said from the world map or from the coin package?
No.
He did.
About the Herald parts.
He did say bases.
No. I'll leave it at that for now. I'll just leave it at no as the answer to that initial question.
I love it.
Sorry, what was the other question? There's a subsequent
Onslaught or Invasion? What's going on with those?
Invasion. Do you not read the roadmap? Invasion was on the road.
Invasion.
I thought Invasion was, but I didn't think. So is Onslaught getting scrapped?
So we haven't had Onslaught for a couple of months now, and there's a variety of things that sort of went into Onslaught's demise. Some of that was, well, again, we know that some players really did enjoy Onslaught or enjoyed it at a time period when it had, you know, better or more variety and when it had more novelty value. But I think to some degree, and we run into this problem a little bit with Invasion, but there's sort of there is a problem where, you know, when we hit on something good, we have a tendency to, you know, when players like it, you know, we keep putting something out there, but then it can lose its luster a little bit. So our premise with Onslaught when we stopped having Onslaught was not to never do another Onslaught. That was not the intention. The intention was to make it a sort of a special event and make it not a monthly thing. So that doesn't mean you'll never see another Onslaught. That does mean that it's not a monthly thing anymore.
Well, there's your
I think they just need a good prize, because like with the Warpath, for example, this is one of the best prizes we've ever had for any kind of, you know, special event that isn't the actual event.
Yeah.
And I, for one, can't wait to get my 10,000 honor payout, because I want those blood diamonds, and they're going straight into Ardra.
Yep. I can't say as I blame you.
Yep.
You're not gonna put them all in those Weaver tokens?
Oh hell no.
Well, I only got Ardra, so Ardra's she's on my list.
You need to put them into Orin, bro. Orin is the best way to go.
You leave my Apollos alone, Lonnie.
You got it.
Don't touch my genie case, bro. Don't touch my genies.
Put your medals into the Ardra tech in the gear store, and put your blood diamonds into the Ardra upgrades. I'm sorry.
I got some questions about the tech being released, the fire tech for this upcoming event.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, why are the Apollos getting fire tech? Aren't they a fire shooting unit? And secondly, the hammers already have pyro shells, which give them a fire status effect, so why did they get a secondary one?
That's a fair question. So I think something that we missed on last year this was kind of a failure, I think, of the way we handled last October's event, was we were not explicit enough about what is supposed to work and what isn't supposed to work. And we often throw around the phrase, you know, once it was said that zombies fucking hate fire. And that's a little bit misleading. There's so much fire stuff in the game that, like, the way our data structure works, it's actually not easy to implement some kind of global rule. So we sort of have to manually do it and try to find all the stuff and scale it up. And what we wanted to do this time was provide a very clear picture of the fire that is going to be useful and the fire that's maybe out of date or past fire. So basically, it's just like, you get this stuff, it'll be useful, it's current. And so we wanted to make sure that distinction was clear. So that's why we had these distinct pieces of tech, is to say, these are the ones, use this, you will get a good result. And by making that number of things a little bit smaller this year than just saying all fire, it actually ensures that we'll actually get a better experience out of it. We'll be able to better balance that out so that, like, we know these things deliver. Because one of the other problems we had last year is we had so many things that we were trying to make viable that some of them didn't end up being as viable as we wanted them to be, or they were underwhelming. We want to avoid that this year. We want to make sure that everything that we claim is going to be useful and good is useful and good.
So does that mean I have to scrap my FAVs?
I wouldn't go all the way to scrapping. I mean, that's what the armory is for.
It's full. It's full of SF.
If you got FAVs, I'm going to come flat you.
I want
got
to
a
see him
tune
flat
of
your
them.
base.
I won't lie.
All right, I got one final question before I gotta go. It's my greatest question. Is there going to be another star-studded video of you starring yourself making another zombie video for this event?
We had more fun than we should have had making that stupid thing.
That was fun. It was awesome. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. TBD.
So that's a
like, we don't want to disappoint our fans, but there's
flying a makeup artist and have you guys like zombies like from
it was
the
amazing
video or something. It was awesome. That was awesome. Playing War Commander at the same time. Seriously, that would be awesome.
I can definitely tell you that the guy that I cannot take credit for spearheading that. There was a guy that really wanted to make it, and that guy's still here at the company and is always interested in doing that kind of stuff. So if we can find the time to do it. We literally made that, like, after hours. We all hung around and, like, did all the filming and everything, and then he was up late doing, cheesy VFX work and everything. So that was a labor of love.
It was so kick-ass, though. It's like legendary. It's like the dildo on the desk. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm serious. It's like everybody talks about it all the time. I mean, you guys might not hear about it. That was awesome. It's just so classic. That's great. You guys got to do it again. I mean, there was people who they're like, "What are you guys talking about?" And then they saw it and they were like, "Oh my God, that's so epic! I can't believe I missed it." So yeah.
That's funny. Now I want to pause for just one moment. My battery's running low, but I can talk. I can stick around for another 20 minutes. I'm just going to go grab my wall plug. So I'm going to disappear, and then I'm going to plug my computer in, and I can stick around for a little bit longer.
Awesome.
So bear with me.
Excellent stuff.
See, did I time it right or what? I'm telling you.
I told you I had the perfect question.
I put him on bless his heart, I put him on a cool timer every time he comes on. I'm sorry about what I said in the side chat.
All right, guys, with that said, I got to roll.
All right, fine.
Take it easy, my man. You take it easy.
Take care, guys.
Pick up.
Tell him I appreciate him coming on when he comes back.
Okay, we will do. Did you see about the thing on the side chat, Doc? If you want to throw that out there, because it's not really a wrong thinker thing. So go ahead and throw it out there real quick if you want to.
Is that live in game now, or is there going to be a maintenance for it?
Yes.
So it is live.
As far as I know, wait, I got to hear from. We have released the fix for the workshop issue. That was at 7:57, 3 minutes to 8. So it's fixed.
So that's officially fixed. So the workshop problem of people getting either rollback workshops or workshop upgrades failing has officially gone live. It is being fixed. It is now in the game, and I will tell you if it is or not in about 9 hours' time.
Yep, I got it. It's posted by CM. CM Chris posted it, and I'm posting the
Because
picture.
if I
of
have
them.
to upgrade that same tech another fucking
I
3
know,
times, I'm going to be very
seriously,
annoyed.
tell me about it. You're not the only one. I was the same thing. I'm going, what? And I kept getting all these PMs about it. So I went and did it, and I was like, oh wait, it even happened to me. That's like I haven't gotten a snow bear error in like forever.
Snow bear. Yeah,
because it is.
Yeah,
It's a snow bear 22.
The last time that happened, it's not so much as a snow bear anymore. It just doesn't can do anything. If my base gets hit, the workshop resets. If I'm not online when it
resets. Yep.
It resets.
It resets. Yep. This was
every time there's a goddamn maintenance, it resets.
Yeah.
I think in my tech center, my Omega Juggernaut upgrade froze because I think it's been stuck on 5 days for about 8 days.
Doc, sneeze at reset?
No shit.
Sorry, I had to throw that in.
I'm gonna go look in YouTube for a minute.
No, it's not reset. It's just not going to the next level. Is all.
Coin it.
You know, I'm about. If you don't shut up, I'm gonna put $200 more on this fucking account just so I don't even.
Coin it. Do it. Do it.
How about even better? You can put $200 on my account.
Do it. Do it. No, you don't look like it.
I know. I'm not.
No, he should donate it to me. That's what he should do.
You're right. You know what? I'll coin it, and I'll coin upgrades, and I'll donate a nice flat to you with all the gold that I've spent upgrading my unit.
That sounds like a good plan. That sounds like a great plan.
If you're going to flat peel, to make sure you do it live. I want to see that.
Yeah, and get some sexy music on there too. Want some sexy music on there.
Oh, I got some classic 70s.
Let's get this straight.
Seriously,
do you want to
some
flatten me
70s
or
disco
Phil?
porn music? Yeah.
Oh, you know it.
Go for it.
Flattening me is just like kicking a dead baby at this point.
Oh God, bless America! I can't believe you just said that.
Right as soon as Rumsford comes back, he's like, "What did I come back to?"
I for 2 minutes talking about kicking dead babies.
One thing I want to see. I want to see
Watch,
if
we're
Ron
gonna get
Thinker
flagged
does.
for that now. We're gonna get flagged for kicking dead babies. Kick that baby.
I got to put it into context before this happens. So we were talking about flattening people, and it's like flattening me is like kicking a dead baby. It's easy.
I swear to God.
So that's one of those things where, like, when somebody takes a big bite of food they don't like, and they go, "Man, this tastes like shit," and then somebody looks at that person and goes, "How do you know what shit tastes like?"
Exactly. Not that I know anything about kicking dead babies.
Right, see?
No, exactly. I was like,
No,
that
but I'm
was
sure
the
you've
other
been kicked
visual.
I'm uncomfortable with this conversation.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
So is everybody else right now.
Come on.
Well,
Come on, Americans, a whole South Park.
Let's go back on to talking about the game.
Yeah.
Will there be a change to the perfect prize for any future invasions, or will that continue to be a medal payout?
For the next, actually, let me see. Let me see if I can give you a real answer to that. Bear with me just a moment while I use the powers of my internet.
Because I think a lot of people were really excited with the idea of a perfect prize, but then getting like back-to-back medal payouts was just like, oh, it's only medals.
Yeah, no. So there was some internal talk about changing that, and I actually can't remember what the outcome of that conversation was.
Can't even imagine.
So that's why I am quite literally looking here on our records, seeing if I can get you that answer.
An Omega Ronin would be a good prize.
Shut up.
Ooh. Hold on. Since you brought up an Omega Ronin, can we get an upgrade to the Chimera?
Or the Legion. The Legion's been elite for how long?
The only thing the Chimera needs is
I would love to see some more levels to the Legion, make it relevant again. Because right now it just dies too fast.
Yeah, Legion is a little outdated, I admit. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm getting the actual answer here.
the Legion.
It's still useful if I'm feeling lazy and I'm hitting thorium.
The Legion is a tactical unit. It can still be used without any advancements to what it is right now.
As long as there are no units in the base.
Exactly.
Oh, funny. No, you guys just don't know how to protect your crap. I go in with my Legion. I never lose my main Legion. Yes, I lose the clones. That's what they're there for. But I'll use the
but
Legion.
I want to be able to
use it
actually
tactically.
use my actual Legion so I can use the
You
other
just want to walk.
tech I have.
You want to walk a base. You want to walk a base. Everybody wants to walk a base. I would love to bring my Legion in, hit it on Ruby, and let it walk through a base and drop the the 4 clones and just let it destroy shit. But it's no fun if that's all you want to do. That's like when owls came out. I love dropping 8-10 owls in a base and just watching it just fly around and destroy everything. Easy peasy is just death and mayhem and destruction. But they're not. You can't do that anymore with them. They became a tactical thing. You drop them 1 or 2 at a time. You take out specific targets, and then you move in with something else. That's more fun to me in this game right now than making the Legion an OP unit again.
Yeah, Legion's an interesting one. Legion was a unit that we really enjoyed making, but we had I'm sure everyone clearly remembers the snafu regarding the way in which the duplication protocol worked.
Oh yeah, we called that Legion Night.
Yes. End of days. I think that is the record for the most shit I've gotten for something.
Speaking of which, where's Shadow Killer?
Well, I half expect him to pop in and be like, I hated that. No, I don't. But yeah, it was kind of a strange unit because it kind of sat on this sort of razor, what we sort of call the razor's edge of design, where it was like, without the duplication protocol being super usable, the unit actually started to pretty quickly feel underwhelming. But when that protocol was super useful, it really was very bad for the game. Like there were metrics issues with that. Even though there were people who didn't previously coin, who now coined for that, we recognized that there was some very unhealthy stuff that was coming from that, and stuff that in the long term would have just been detrimental. So we had to make a change there. So when we talk about bringing it up to like Omega level, quite frankly, we're a little bit nervous about it because we want to continue to provide units that are interesting. And one of the things that Legion was one of our more interesting unique units. And I actually think that one of the best things about the unique units are when they have very original gameplay or functionality associated with them. So you look at like one of the first units before I was even the design lead. I was one of the designers, if not, might have even been the designer on the Phantom, because that had some very unique gameplay. And I was sort of involved in Legion as well, though not quite as heavily, but I was involved in Legion as well. And any time, like I like to push for more uniques. So in that regard, Legion is awesome and was a success because it didn't play like anything else in the game. But the flip side is it, of course, had some negative consequences as well. So again, I'm not going to say never on that, but I wouldn't expect an immediate upping of Legion. I think that one sits in kind of this weird place where it's like similar to Sarkis in a way. Here, fun trivia for you. When we originally started working on Legion, it was going to be Elite Sarkis. And that's why it has the sort of the 3 abilities that do these very tactical things. And the whole original, this is sort of fun trivia mode, but the whole original design for it was like Sarkis was kind of like an infiltrator. And a Shadow Killer would remember they're often referred to as ninjas. So we were actually going to give him abilities that were ninja-like. And one of those is like, shadow duplicates, which became duplication protocol.
Oh.
So we eventually decided that flavor didn't really fit the world of War Commander to really actually ninja him out. So it sort of took this different form and became Legion. But it's part of the reason that Legion shipped without standard levels, and it's Elite Legion. So in any case, so I like those units. I like things like that, but we also run into a problem where the ability system that we have is, there's a part of me that really enjoys it. As some of you who've, paid attention to some of the other projects that KixEye has had in the past, I originally started at this company working on the project of Tome. And Tome was a game in which there were abilities. So when I was brought on and somebody said, hey, put some abilities on stuff in the game, I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. But there's a part of me that also kind of feels like that's not a right fit for a high enough percentage of our players. The need to sort of manually activate and manually target these things is kind of an awkward fit in some ways. Even though I know it's got some fans, I think for hitting the widest audience and satisfying the largest number of players, I think we're better off relying more on broader play style things. Like I think the Phantom was a success. I think the Phantom was the right amount of complexity and the right amount of strategy. But I think the abilities pushed a little bit. So super long-winded anecdote land or story time, I guess. But that's why there is not any immediate plan for Omega Legion.
Yeah, because that's what, as soon as the patches came out to fix the duplication glitch and everything like that, that's when it immediately dawned on me, okay, well, they got all this stuff permanently fixed. Now it's good. Here comes the Omega Legion. And then every 3 months, it's a different Omega unit. It's like, oh my God.
Yep. I got
this thing for 30.
I definitely know that a lot of people do really, really love Legion, even with the change to duplication protocol. I still think Legion is a cool and generally successful unit, but
I still use mine. I still use mine. I have to admit, it's more of kind of like when everybody says the Phantom sucks way back when, and it was kind of like a niche unit, but I still use mine for certain kinds of things. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I can now use this. So instead of it being a primary unit, it became more of sort of like a niche unit to use at certain times. And it's the same thing with the Legion. Instead of it being this big badass unit that I used to use a lot, especially when I was doing the 90 bases back in the day, now when you guys put the missile bastions in there, I would just like completely like demolish that corner, and I would use my Legion to do it. My legal Legion, by the way, my Legion and my Liberators to do it, and just kind of go balls to the wall, and then just obliterate that corner, and then pick out the rest of the base with my Dina. And I really, other than blowing my Legion up, but the libs, it didn't matter. I had 90 of them. I didn't care. But now it's become, I deploy it once in a while here and there, but I know where I want to deploy it and when.
Right. It's definitely
not. Well, yeah, because it's such a touchy unit to use. If it's a standard platoon, it's a day 4 hours repair.
Right. But never say never, because like I said, people who said the Phantom became irrelevant, nobody used it anymore, and now like look at all of us that went out and coined that Phantom package before Wrong Thinker got on.
Speaking of Phantom package, I'd like some tech, so just go prod somebody at marketing, and you got some more money.
There you go.
There you go.
I'll pass along the word. But yeah, the Phantom has some pretty critical tech for it. We got to make sure that shows up somewhere.
Event store.
Event store.
I'm a little under the weather.
Store tab at the top of the
Sorry, I had a little tickle.
Storage tab. Store tab. War Commander Market. What will we call
Everybody gets a bonus then. Everybody gets a bonus.
There you go.
Store tab at the top of the website. Everybody gets sushi for lunch every day.
Oh man! But I do want to say, I do enjoy sushi.
I do too.
I've seen some of the spreads you guys get on your lunches. I've seen some.
Sushi. Sushi's good. Okay. Any other questions? YouTube land, any questions?
Anything from anybody? I got nothing right now. My list is good.
Can you tell us any special toys that are going to be coming into the event store?
Any special what?
He's talking
any special toys?
Oh my god.
Rather than give anything specific, are we going to be getting a new unit come this event?
Look at that face.
Hey, you don't have to tell us what it is. Are we going
to be getting
another new unit?
Apparently, Golden Doodle's kneecaps if he told so.
Well, the real danger is I have to break my own kneecaps if I give away too much. I mean, there is a unit in the upcoming event. I'm really interested in this unit. what can I tease or just straight out say? I think it's going to have some interesting options, and it's going to be a very versatile unit. Its tech is going to make it extremely versatile to the point where it's actually going to have one more very interesting slot than other units in the faction era.
Ooh.
So, and it's a slot dedicated to a very specific purpose. So I guess that's probably a good enough tease for now. But I think it'll be good for players who want something that they can find a lot of versatility in a single package, and that's going to be one of the primary strengths of this unit.
Sounds like Expert Jericho's coming back. I'm happy.
Yeah, you said unit. Right?
Jericho. There you go. Don't.
He didn't say anything.
He
can
didn't
say whatever we want.
When it doesn't
He
appear in the
didn't
event
say
score
it.
and you get really, really butthurt about it, it's not his fault. It's yours.
Fair.
Yeah.
I got one question about the blackout. People have been saying, and we've seen some people use it, and they're not getting that scramble effect on the units it's attacking. Is that meant to be like at a level threshold, or is that
Very
just possibly something not working?
No, very good question. I can answer that. The confusion here actually comes from the fact that we changed some of the behavior of the unit. Some of these changes were more obvious, and we did this for the Shadow boss base. The Shadow boss base, her blackout is different than the standard blackout. We had to do that to make an interesting fight. And she's actually got some weaknesses the regular blackout doesn't have. For example, you can shoot her drones, but she has some strengths as well. One of those strengths is that she does have the scramble effect. The regular blackout doesn't have the scramble effect. It has the actual blackout effect, which is that it low powers these huge sections of the base. So that's actually the trade-off there. The unit that you guys have can, again, low power huge sections of the base. And so in some ways, this unit it's good on its own, but it's also way better if you use it with some other supporting units. Even things like the phalanx as an example. Yep. You bring in the blackout and you bring in some phalanx with it, you're going to greatly increase the lifespan of your phalanx because a huge section of the base will be low power. And that's partly how the blackout is supposed to work. So I'm sorry for the confusion on that. We probably should have more explicitly called that out, and who knows what components we'll bring to it when we get there. But the intention at the time being is that it does have this blackout effect, and that's sort of what its strength is. And the Shadow one didn't have that, but you wouldn't know that because, of course, she's not shooting at buildings; she's shooting at your units.
Well, we got to use her in the 120 base, and that was fun.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think my one regret there with that 120 where everybody got to use those units, and like Malachi's Juggernaut is hilarious. I love that thing. So it was really fun to give people a chance to control that. But the one kind of regret I have is that maybe through explanation this would have been better, but because nobody had seen the blackout in motion yet outside of the boss base, the perception was that was exactly like what the blackout would be. And it's not exactly true because it was using her blackout, which had these different properties. So it kind of gave a little bit of a mixed message there. That said, it was probably worth it because I think, frankly, one of my favorite Unshackled moments of all times was when, I forget who it was, but you were going after the base and you were watching it, you were discovering that the boss units were spawning in, and somebody goes, wait a minute, this means Shadow's going to show up. Oh my God! And then you were all freaking out until she showed up, and then you freaked out even more. That was amazing. That was amazing.
I'll tell you what, you would have loved it if you saw us in the hangout when we were trying to hit the boss bases. Oh dear God! When we started those bases and saw Shadow's blackout move once we started hitting, I was just going to Lonnie. I'm like, fuck this, fuck this. I'm like, when you guys see this, when you guys get to this point, you're just gonna be like, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
That was good.
You know, the difficulty of the Shadow boss base was way too high out of the gate, and I acknowledge that. But that's an example where we're trying to really push the envelope with those boss bases because we don't want them to just be. We don't want them to be purely like brute force hard. We want them to be more interesting and make it feel less like you're fighting a base and more like you're fighting this powerful character in the game. That may or may not appeal to everyone, but it's partly how we want to distinguish those bases because, again, one of the big things that we're really trying to do is look for ways, both with our units and with the things that you fight against in the game, like the units you get and the units we get, to provide these more diverse experiences so that fighting a boss really does feel different than fighting another boss base. So that was one of the reasons that we had a lot of interesting behavior and changed so much of the Shadow character of her Blackout. Like when you go back and you look at, if anyone remembers back in the Hannibal boss, like the Hannibal boss was like him in a tank, and you know, it wasn't a terrible fight, but like he was just kind of chilling in the center of the base and shot at you, and it was just kind of like, it kind of feels like fighting a base. And more we've been trying to push it, whether it was with Veng or with Shadow. You know, we have our misses with these, but we're trying to make them feel more unique in terms of how you have to think and what you have to engage in. So that's where we're actually spending some real time to try and make these more creative and more interesting and surprising, because that surprise isn't something that you actually get a lot of. And I think the sense of surprise and of discovery can actually be really, really fun and rewarding, especially when you master it.
Yeah, and I did like...
Oh yeah, much to my surprise, the first Blackout base I hit, I'm killing the Shadow's Blackout, and all of a sudden it teleports to the other side of the screen.
Yep.
That was a shock.
That shocked us all pretty damn hard.
Yep.
Just it was gone. I was like, I hope to God mine can do that.
Yeah, sorry.
I did like that base a lot more than like the Warrig one, for example. That one was a bit of a letdown because the unit itself was a bit underwhelming at that point. But overall, I do like the idea that with the boss base, that we get to fight like the units themselves, as opposed to like, you know, the older boss base when, for example, we fought like the Widowmaker or Hannibal.
Right.
You know, I like these ones a bit more because we're fighting the units themselves.
Yeah. I think it puts a bit more personality into the experience. And yeah. I'm personally a sucker for that. But even though I know it's not, you know, depending on, there's a lot of different ways you can put personality into the game. And one of the other things, and we've certainly gotten flack for this, which I understand, but it's one of the reasons that we are really pushing to have quite blatantly, you know, Kixeye only units in some of our bases. And again, I know this is kind of a controversial topic, but part of our intention there is the units that we use actually have, like, if the unit, the rule of thumb is if the unit looks like the unit you have. So if it's the same color scheme and the same in other regards, then it's going to be the same unit you have. We actually don't fudge numbers there. That's not a thing that we do. There was actually a time before my time on the project, I know that this was a thing that was done. And I think I've talked either on Unshackled or maybe on the forums about that a little bit. We don't do that anymore. Now we're taking a different approach. And the modern approach is we want you to know we're using different stuff, because that stuff isn't better. It's different. And it's designed in mind with the idea that you are fighting against it, not with the idea that you are using it. And that's a really, really important distinction, because it lets us create unique challenges that also let you better them. Like they are beatable challenges. We're not putting unbeatable stuff in bases. We're not putting overpowered stuff. It's more of a learning experience. So when you think about a lot of other video games, something that you might, you know, buy for you know, $60 for your computer or whatever, just like a single package game where you're play through a campaign and then you're done with the game. There's a reason that the enemy behaviors that you engage with in that game are not the same as your behavior. You as the player have a lot more control. You usually have access to, like, you know, depending on the type of game, more weapons. But all those things, level designs, enemy designs, these are all designed to provide a fair and interesting challenge. But if everything you fought in those other games played exactly the same way you did, not only would it get repetitive, but it would also be kind of frustrating because you as a player are also the ultimate opponent. So if you were dealing with someone that was as fast as you and was as aggressive as you and was as smart as you, it would actually be a less fun experience. So we're trying to put things into bases that are truly unique, you know, and that, yes, are Kixeye exclusive, but the consequence of that is they do have weaknesses and they become a true strategic challenge to overcome. So you look at something like, I forget the custom name of it, but the True Believers variant on the Vindicator, right? Like, yes, it could hit air. Yes, it could scramble, but it dealt significantly less damage. So that meant it was vulnerable to different things than your Vindicator would be vulnerable to. So you, ideally, we present to you, you know, the information that, you know, from the unit that you can use this, or rather use information about the unit to battle the unit in a new and different way. It's just another way we're trying to make like a diverse experience with variety, so that again, fighting a player base will feel very different from fighting one of the Kixeye bases.
Excellent.
That's some of the reasons.
Dobby, you got a couple of questions inside. Dobby, you're pulling them from YouTube. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Ask the questions.
If I ask any duplicate, I apologize. I came in late. So these are from YouTube. They want to know if we're going to get a Spec Ops update. Drone silo, and someone was asking for a drone silo range increase. So
yeah, to those two questions. Sorry, Spec Ops update. That's an interesting one. I have talked about wanting to do a Spec Ops update for probably as long as I've been saying shit on the forums, which is actually, I feel like I've tackled a lot of the big pressing problems that I have personally wanted to see our design team tackle. But that one very clearly has not been tackled. It's still something I have an interest in doing, but I would be lying if I said that had bubbled to the top yet.
I can tell you that in case you didn't notice, and I'm not making anything to you, but I know this wouldn't be something that you would, I would assume this is something you wouldn't do. They have actually at least worked graphically on it. They load faster, and they've also, on that window at the end, instead of collect and scrap, the scrap button is gone because we could never scrap it anyway. So somebody's doing something in there to them, at least visually and technologically wise. So that was, to me, that was like, oh, ooh, they're making progress. They're planning something.
Yep. We definitely have.
Every time I get rid of one.
Yeah,
that was a thing.
We have been, what was that?
Though every time I used to scrap a spec op that I don't want or don't use, it used to DC me every time. It doesn't do it anymore, but it used to.
Well, I'm glad that that doesn't happen anymore. We're definitely trying to make. It's so interesting because our game has a lot of very, very. Our game is very piecemeal from a data architecture perspective. Like from a code perspective, our game was very piecemeal. Our UI pieces, so that could be like the Spec Ops UI, the leaderboard. These things are all very disparate in the way that they're engineered because they were engineered over a pretty extended period of time. As a consequence of that, part of the reason that we have so struggled to make any kind of meaningful games in the performance and stability departments is because it's death by 1,000 cuts. So there is no smoking gun, which is a very frustrating thing, especially if for those of you who are familiar with code, it's much more appealing to find something and be like, this is the problem. We don't have that situation. We have the whole game is the problem in terms of the way it's architected. So we are now starting to chip away at some of those pieces, which is why within the past 3 months, you've seen things like you've just described, Skip, and also things like even the regular leaderboard, despite its faults within the past, I think 3 months or so, that became more responsive. We've got people sort of chipping away at it. So we're trying to get all those little things to make the game a little bit
faster. I mean, I want to say, I mean, even with the frame rates, but everything from graphically to the window itself. And I know that sounds kind of like, why are you even bringing that up? For somebody like me that sees that, okay, when you look at any kind of game or any website, you're just looking at the eye candy. I'm the person like Phil who works on the language that's behind the scenes. So when I see the eye candy change on something that's hasn't been touched in years, much less months, but years, I'm like, ooh, they're doing something. That was a positive thing to me. I mean, they wouldn't even touch it if they weren't doing something with it.
Totally.
So that made me feel good, and it cuts down on the lag. Everything, it goes into your spec ops faster. You can click on your spec up and go and scrap it faster. All of that is loading faster. Is that part of the base optimization? Maybe. But just to see those graphics load faster, the window has changed, the buttons have changed, those kinds of things have changed, and I appreciate that very much. For the players that don't have the kick-ass systems, I'm talking for the players that have, mediocre internet connections at best, depending on where they're playing from in the world. Even some of the guys who are deployed, fighting for their countries. And I'm not just talking about America, but they're fighting for their countries, and they don't have that kick-ass internet connection like they had at home, and they're playing remotely, via satellite or whatever. And it's just like those simple things that you guys are doing as a team make a huge amount of difference to these guys, because it allows them to collect their resources, do what they need to do, load up what they need to do, start their upgrade. Yes, thank you so much, because the workshop update thing has been fixed tonight. Load up their thing and then go out, strap on a gun, get into a tank, and defend their country. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So it's like those teeny tiny things add up to huge differences to the players who are like your core base players. I mean, I just want to say thank you for that. So there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I'm actually really glad we're in a position now where I feel like the general team unity is very high. And, I've been on the project now 2.5 years, though I was not always in a leadership role in the project. And I feel like that the general unity of the team, the way the compass is pointing is clear to a larger percentage of the team than maybe it's ever been. And that's why I think in the last 3 months, you've actually seen so many consistent initiatives. Like you've seen so many cheating methods go away just in the past month alone, really. And I think that's really, really remarkable and certainly maybe even unprecedented to see the kinds of progress that we're seeing on some fronts. So I'm really hoping we continue that momentum, because I think it just makes for a better game. And little details like you're talking about there, Skip, are absolutely a part of that, where we're just firing on all cylinders. So I'm really hopeful for the next, for the immediate future of the game, and even beyond the immediate future, because we're really doing, I think, some smart things and focusing on the things that need to be focused on more so than we have historically.
Exactly, because there's so many things that you're doing that don't even make it into the update notes. It's the little tiny things. It's not just me that notices it, but then other people say, I'll get a PM and say, is it just me, Skip, or I notice X, Y, and Z? Or
I'm usually sending that PM. I notice everything.
Yeah, it's just like, the guys say, when I first got deployed here, I had problems with this, and this, and now I don't have that problem. But I searched the update notes. I watched the shows, the last 3 shows. Is KixEye working on this? I said, there is a ton of stuff that KixEye is working on that you'll never see in the update notes, because it's not that it's not trivial, because it was important to get done, but it's just not even, why take up the space? It's like, as long as it's working and you see the difference, that's all that matters. And then he's just like, thank you, please tell the team thank you. And we've got 4 or 5 guys that are just, they'll see this show later, because they're out on duty right now, so they'll see this show later, and they'll be just like, please mention to Wrong Thinker how much we appreciate. And it's not just people from the United States. I'm talking about people who are serving for other countries that are deployed all over the world.
Skip said duty again, by the way.
Well, this is their relief. When they get their time, seriously, they get their time. They call their wives, they call their girlfriends, they call their family, they call their moms, whatever, and then guess what they go do? I mean, because this is what they're doing for real life, but they go play. This is their de-stressing, which is crazy. They love the Warpath event, because they got to blow stuff up and have a blast, and have play Chat Commander and all those other kinds of things, and had a good time. But it was fun. This is their release. So the fact that you guys are making those changes so that they don't get the massive amounts of lag is just they love it. They just want to say thank you. So there you go.
We believe it or not, we really do want to make you happy. So that's great.
I'm happy. Are you guys happy?
I don't want to cut anybody off. I gotta take my nephews home, so I just want to quickly say thank you to Wrong Thinker and Skip for coming on the show, and thank you to Dr. Phil and the rest of the panel for letting me come on. I will catch the end of the show when I get back.
You can come on with me anytime you want.
Watch it. We'll get flagged again. I don't want to get flagged again.
I said relationship.
That's a story for another day. But
come on.
No, I've said it multiple times that right here, right now is the best time to if you've been away for a while. Now is the best time to pick up the game again. And I said it last month when I actually came back after a 6-month hiatus. It's one of those things. I'm enjoying the game a lot more now than I did 6 months ago.
You hear that, Shadow? Pick it up.
Yeah, Shadow needs to get off his ass and start playing again.
Got to poke that man with a stick.
I need to get a shock stick. Get a shocky stick.
There you go.
Monkey prod. Prod him a couple of times.
It's called a cattle prod.
That's the one. I couldn't remember I couldn't remember the life of me. I'm
back
so
to the game
give me a
for
break.
second.
No, I think Shadow would enjoy the cattle prod. Go ahead. Sorry, Fear.
Just a question about for something. Yeah, everyone knows that some things in the game will get tweaked and touched without players knowing, and in specific things like something we're obviously gonna realize that has been touched. Can we get a little heads up on those before they do go live? For example, the little tweak and touch on the Shadow Ops 70s that really kind of pissed off a lot of people because we couldn't figure out what it was that got changed for a little bit, and then everyone noticed that it was the railgun and the tower got swapped positions.
But isn't that kind of part of the fun? I'm sorry, I played Devil's Advocate.
No, I agree with you.
I'm gonna say you should study a base and look at it before you attack it and not just bulldoze it.
Yeah, a foolish person attacks the base the same way every time.
Conversation before. I mean, isn't that kind of part of the whole thing about it looks like Wrong Thinker got kicked out and then he had to jump in?
Yeah, he's back in. But
We've been having some spotty Wi-Fi. I do apologize. I can't promise that won't happen again, but it's not a battery.
Wi-Fi. Oh my God, Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cringe anytime anybody says Wi-Fi.
You're at Kickside headquarters. How do you not have like 12 gigabytes up and down?
Hang on.
All I can tell you, I've never worked at a company that hasn't had Wi-Fi issues. I don't understand.
Are you running a Mac?
Yes. Tell me you're not running a Mac.
I can tell you what I wish I was running.
Yeah, that's all he's got to say about that.
That's all we'll be saying on that.
That's all we're going to talk about that.
Somebody's question was cut off. I do apologize. Can that question be restated?
A heads up, like, for instance, I'll just paraphrase what Phil said. The players won, and I'll play Devil's Advocate, but the players would like a heads up because they think it was kind of like, really like
sneaky
slamming the players to change the 70s, and it took a while for the players to figure out that it was the railgun, that was switched around with the shit. See, just went out of my head. It was tower. Thank you. And so they were wondering, if could there be some kind of heads up? You don't have to tell us what it is, but the players are asking, when you make these radical changes to the bases like that, it's not that they're asking for let's have the same thing because it becomes a grind, but sometimes it's so like it seems like it's so OP'd or so hard to figure out. And I say Devil's Advocate.
Look, it wasn't radical. It was subtle. And we'll go back to what Daba said.
Hold on, please. Let me finish. It's not just this base and data. No offense. I'm not trying to be ignorant or anything. Let me finish, please. This has been... Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
All right. So I just got like 3 PMs from a set of people that were using the same thing. And they want me to ask it directly to you. If you still own drop ships and you use them, is it considered an exploit? Because I know they got pulled.
Yeah,
still own them.
That's actually surprising to me that they've stuck around for.
There's quite a few to have them.
Go ahead.
Yes.
there's quite a few that still have saved them in the spec ups, and there's an issue in the community now where two players were using them in a sector, and there was reported that they thought that the players were cheating these dropships when the players actually just saved them from the spec ops. And so we want to hear it from Kixeye official, if players still had them saved up from spec ops and used them in the game to benefit. Are they exploiting? Are they cheating? Or is it just okay to do because it's a spec op?
Yeah, I mean, to sort of draw the line between like an exploit and a cheat, just for the sake of maybe the viewing public less than the panel, but the distinction there is cheating would imply modifying the game code in some way, using an external program or modifying the client in some way so that the game behavior is different for you than for everyone else. That's cheating. And then exploiting is there is a flaw that inadvertently was introduced by Kixeye for some reason or another that players have discovered how to utilize in a way that is favorable to them. And so by that criteria, I think you could make the case that the situation you've just described is a little exploity, but that's only because dropships themselves were a little exploity. But I also feel as though I can't truly fault a player for saving something for like a year and being like, now is the time. Like that's that patience I just respect. So at the most official level, I do think that is probably a little exploity, but I don't believe there's any action to be taken there. When they use the spec ops, they are consumed, so they are gone. Part of me still wants to find a way to make dropships right. That's another thing. We've got a lot of ideas on how to make that work. It's just, again, it hasn't bubbled at the top yet of the to-do list. So I guess officially exploitative, but don't be too hard on people for it, because once they use them, they're gone, and they've held on to those dang things for a year. So some credit. Thank you.
The only issue with those was you could double stack them, and so then you could cover your bases forever. But like the idea that you could get over jails and all that was the fun with them. But they could be exploited with just cover, like people that are.
Ironically, that's exactly what they got used for the other night.
Yep.
Well, yeah. See, there's problems with just like we all know. There's problems with people being perpetually stuck with hookers, and they constantly have hookers deployed in their base, and the hookers never go away, so they never have to buy a hooker op. The same thing could possibly be said for dropships. So then somebody permanently has dropships stuck forever, and then what are you going to do? That person becomes the single most powerful player in the game because no one can ever get to their base.
Right.
So it's highly exploitable, and I think it's perfectly fine. And I've never experienced dropships until I've seen anybody use them. And I think it's perfectly fine if they never make their way back into the game.
Yeah, I think the key thing with dropships is, and this is something we actually did with Warpath, I think, in general, is we took a really long, hard look at the behavior that was some of the most exploited behavior in the game, and I sort of commented on that on the previous stream that I was on with you guys, where I'm like, well, they're going to try to exploit it. And, I think we put some measures in place. Did people still find some exploitative behavior? Yeah, they did, of course. Players are creative. There's no doubt about that. But we did hammer on some of the big exploitative cases. So I think if we decided to revisit dropships in any way, we didn't. Dropships were always intended to be an offensive tool to say, hey, you can't self-jail yourself because I spent the extra effort. I got this dropship. I'm going to attack you. And that was the actual intention of the dropships. And people ended up using them in ways that were counter to that intention, because the original thought that went into them, quite frankly, was not sufficient. And as a result of that, we had exploitable, detrimentally exploitable experiences for players. So for what it is worth, if we ever revisit dropships, we'll be making damn sure that they fulfill the goal that they were intended to fill of empowering offensive action, not allowing an unbeatable, frustrating turtle state.
Excellent stuff. I know it's getting late over there, and I know it's getting late over here. Should we do a quick fire round of questions, and then we could let you go home?
Yeah, no, cheers. That sounds good.
All right, David, you got any questions? David, wakey. Oi! All right, we'll skip you, and we'll go straight to Dollar.
Sorry, I was.
Oh, now you come back.
Yeah.
fashionably
I'm
late.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't spank me, Daddy.
Wait, what?
Oops, wrong show. Never mind.
Questions, David. Questions.
Nope, I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you, Ron Tinker, for coming on the show.
Cheers. Absolutely. Sorry, it wasn't last week.
It's okay. We understand. Everybody gets sick. You can't be at your work 24/7, day in, day out, sick or not.
That is true. Though I've given it a fair shake, let me tell you.
You got to get better so you can make the game better. Let's make WC great again.
There you go.
Oh, Jesus.
You bastard, David.
Dub, have you got any questions before I strangle David?
And no violence for the show. We don't want to get any. We don't encourage violence here on Unshackled. Just in the game of War Commander, not in real life.
It's David. He's an exception to the rule.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So again, I apologize if this was asked. Did we bring up an air PvP tune?
We did not.
Someone in YouTube was very adamant about they and a couple PMs. They were asking if we could get an air PvP tune, kind of like our regular PvP tune, that's specific for PvP. And also, kind of on that, the middle air platoon, you can still only put helicopters in there. Is there a way that we can make that both?
No, you can put a.
I was only able to. I can't put my Titan in one of my things.
I can put 9 hours and everything in all of them.
I like the fact that you have a specific that is only rotor, not fixed wing. I think that's actually very good for giving you a quid pro quo approach to the game and having to learn some skill and tact.
So just to clarify, where I hear where Venom's coming from on that, but the actual intention was to have it be a totally open platoon. And again, I understand where Venom's coming from on that, but we wanted to remove some of the rules. So if there is an issue where you cannot put any of the air stuff in one of them, that's actually a bug, and we should fix that.
Yeah, I can put Onis and Night Owls in every platoon.
Yeah,
it's the air delta one that's not working. But mainly, my question for the community base is the air PvP tune.
Right. So,
is there any thoughts on that or anything in the works for that?
I'm glad you brought it up. I had very much wanted to get an air PvP platoon in the game before Warpath. However, obviously that didn't happen. We can start with that. The reason that didn't happen is we ended up having to weight the effort of creating that against some of the major anti-cheating initiative stuff. And we just had to make a call. And the call was we go after the cheaters.
That was a good
I think it was the right call, but I think it's a little unfortunate. So having said that, that does mean that air PvP platoon is still something that's, I would say, relatively high on the list. It's not the highest thing on the list. We still have a little ways to go on some of our performance efforts and some of those anti-cheating efforts. We're obviously not done with the performance stuff. We're actually getting closer to some of the major cheats in the game. We've chipped off a lot of them. There's still a small number of what I would consider pretty major cheats still in the game, but we're chipping away at them. So we will finish that initiative, and then we will reinvestigate putting some bandwidth towards an air PvP platoon. There's no specific time frame. We need to put the resources where they are right now, but I'm very, very hopeful that, and again, we're not doing a Warpath every month, but if we get to a second Warpath at some point, which I'm sure we will, because people seem to really be enjoying this, that hopefully we'll have that next the air PvP platoon in by then.
Oh, that's awesome.
Excellent. Lonnie, you got any questions?
Yeah.
Back in here?
Since I come back, is there any way we can get a leave button for, like, say somebody comes and attacks my platoon? All we got is a retreat button.
All right.
Is there any way we can get a leave button so we can, like for instance, I always use camo frame detonators, and I'll hide my detonator, and I can't leave the platoon unless I retreat it. So I just got to sit there in that tune for 6-7 minutes, or retreat it, or go to another tune and hope somebody ends attack on that one. So can we get a leave button for being in a tune when it's being attacked?
That's a really good question. That's not, it's funny. I've seen that brought up on occasion, and it's that one has never bubbled up to near the top, but it also seems like a really odd omission. So I can't think of, from purely from a design perspective, I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't have that button there. So that's one of those things that's just been around for so long. I haven't really questioned it, but it's a fair point. So I can pass that along, and we can see how that gets prioritized.
All right, thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff. Fear the Peel, have you got any questions?
I do not. I just want to say thank you, Wrong Thinker, and hope to see you next time.
Yeah, cheers.
Sweet stuff, sweet stuff. King, have you got any questions? Do I have to slap you as well? No, I'm good. You're awake.
Slap me? No, I'll behave.
Good.
One of the questions that I saw in the side chat from Daba, he posted it from YouTube. Is there going to be zombie-based metal bases this year, like last year?
I can say that there is not a plan explicitly for that base. What we talked about a little bit earlier on the show, which is come November, we're going to do a bigger evaluation of sort of the value prop of our bases, which includes the fact that the 90 is only paying out 15K medals at the moment. So maybe that means that we make the 90 a little easier or increase the payout. So we need to do an evaluation there, but there's not currently a plan for the zombie metal base. Sorry.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Yep, cheers.
Oh, who's next on my list? I can't see because it's Data. Data, have you got any questions?
Mm-hmm. Will you come back when you know more about the zombie event?
Yeah. I mean, there was a period of time when I wasn't showing up on really any of the shows very much, and I enjoy doing it. I'm not ever going to be able to do it every week. That probably ain't happening, but I like doing it more frequently. I like talking to you guys and getting your feedback and getting your thoughts and being able to answer your questions. So I will tentatively shoot for coming on the Wednesday before the event.
Beautiful.
Awesome stuff. Excellent. Yeah. Venom, have you got any questions?
No.
No. That was a really depressed no.
There's a question in the chat you can ask.
He took my question. No, I just want to say, I really appreciate seeing you on here, Mr. Wrong Thinker. It is a great pleasure. And I, speaking for myself, and hopefully the community as a consensus, we do appreciate all the informative information that you share and being vocal and transparent as you can be. So thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Sure.
Of course, I have no particular question, but I always go for the joke question at the end, just to give everybody a giggle. When the Golden Doodle has been properly broken in, would you like to drag him on here?
I sure would, just so that you can face the Golden Doodle. Yes, I think that would be worth doing if he's feeling up for the panel.
Well, we need a heads up for that, so I can get a big bag of cheese doodles to have on cam.
I would expect nothing less. I would expect nothing less.
If I get the heads up, yeah, I'll definitely let you know, Venom.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'll be talking with him. He hasn't been on the team for a tremendous amount of time yet. I mean, he in professional terms, he's been on more than a month now, and already been a great asset to the team. But he's still ramping up on the game, as you guys know better than anyone. The game is gigantic. So as he increases his familiarity with everything, I think he'll be up for coming on the show. I'm sure that's in his nature. So I'll
excellent stuff. He has a great sense of humor from what I've already read of some of the stuff that he's posted.
Look at his name. Of course, he's got to have a
this.
I mean, you don't name yourself Golden Doodle unless you have something special going on.
I'm quite sure if we can get come on sometime, there's a story behind his name, and I'm quite sure we'll get it.
I'm quite sure you will.
I love the new guys in the direction Kick-Side's going. I love the future for Warpath.
Yeah, well, me too. I'm actually really excited for it. And it's funny, I say that a lot of the times in the state of the game posts, which have now been passed off to Mr. Doodle. It's what I'm looking for a shorthand that is less annoying for me to say. I've got nothing. I'm just going to keep changing. Like
it's got a good ring to it.
It does. It does at that. But yeah, just like I said earlier on in the show, I feel like we're in a position where we have a pretty good compass, a pretty good unified direction where we're all on the same page. Obviously in the past few months, you guys have noticed hopefully an increase in communication, certainly from myself, and now Golden Doodle will be doing a follow-up with Robocop, hopefully within the next week or two. He owes you an update on the technical front. I still owe you a Q&A on the forums as well, which I want to do, which is really similar to this. It's just, for the to do it in the forum format where people can sort of ask me anything and we can chat on that. So, but hopefully we'll continue the trend of more communication, the two-way street that is the communication that helps keep the game afloat and keeps everybody happy. And we have every reason to believe this game has actually quite a long life left in it. Like, from the internal perspective, it's funny, I see the regular polls about, like, this is the end of War Commander. No, this is the end of War
I see it all the time.
Every week.
Oh, yeah, War Commander's been going out of business for the past 4 years now.
Yeah,
it's been going out of business for about almost 5, I think. There's always this one post that appears somewhere else where somebody's photoshopped something or posted something amusing, and then all of a sudden it dredges its way through the pages. Kixeye have done this, and Kixeye laid some people off, and Kixeye did this, and Kixeye's revenue is down, and Kixeye did this, and Kixeye did this, and then all of a sudden it appears on the forum in giant capital letters, "The game is dying! I want my money back!"
I think I've seen one where they actually sold the company before. I think I've seen one.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. But they sold them off to somebody else.
Somebody in, like, South Korea or something like that. I think that made the round last year in Vega.
Yeah, I think the forums really are sort of, 50% of them are sort of like the tabloids where you just, like, to hear the forums tell it that the game has not only went out of business 2 years ago, I've been fired and don't exist, and it was all in your imagination.
He's a robot! He's a droid!
He's a clone. It's a clone.
Wrong Thinker is Will Harbin's son, and he's just up there to be a face to a false identity.
I'm actually a puppet. I don't have a lower body.
Who's the marionette? So now I'm revisiting it.
I want to make a comment on the communication in the forums. I was at work today, and normally I'm able to, on like the state of the game and all that, I'm able to keep up with the posts. There was so much communication from Wrong Thinker and Golden Doodle and Chris answering so many questions in the forums. You guys doing a really good job, because
it's amazing.
I love looking at the forums and all that, and for me not to be able to keep up with you guys at work, that's very impressive. You guys, I think almost every single question was answered by one of you guys.
Yeah, CM Chris is really dedicated as well. He's a solid guy, and
Did you guys? I got one more question before you run off. Did you guys ever check to see if the Phantom tech was working correctly? Because I've noticed my Phantom is not as strong as it once was.
I've seen a couple of reports on that on the forums, and I will say there's some degree we have to acknowledge that. Again, when you read the forums, a lot of people talk about, well, has this been nerfed? Has this been nerfed? I think it's pretty clear from our recent balance approach that if we're going to nerf something, we are going to tell you about it. I've
ran some tests, and I took some videos, and I got some older videos of when I was hitting bases, and you can see like the actual drop rate has really dropped down. It's fallen off quite a bit.
So, to be clear, I do not question you when you say it's worse, rather. What I will say is that if it is worse, then there's definitely some kind of bug or something. So what I can do is, when we see a certain threshold of reports, we usually don't jump on something if one person says something is broke on the forums. But if we start seeing an increase in, of course, ticket volume is one of our metrics, forum posts is one of our metrics. Sometimes we get, we're able to look at our internal debug logs, and we see like errors and things. So these things bubble up and we flag them. So if indeed there is something wrong there, especially with the recent offer we just put out, it's definitely in our best interest to sort of solve whatever is wrong there. I don't know if you or if anyone has a sense of if the problem lies with the Phantom itself, or if there's a particular piece of tech that's causing it.
I think it's the tech. I can't remember. I think it's the cop. I can't remember what tech it was, but I really think it's the tech. I actually ran a test where I took a long stretch and I went down and I did it with tech, and then I unteched the whole thing and did it again. And you can see the difference, but the difference might be in...
It might be the enhanced turbine. That's the one that should increase the speed and drop rate.
What it is, it's the reload speed and the fire rate. Is 100%? Is it plus 100% on both of them? And I just don't see it.
Advanced turbines on that one.
Yeah, advanced turbines. That's it.
Okay, that's interesting that one's the issue. We actually had an issue with that one when we originally shipped it, which we ultimately fixed. But it would not. Stranger things have happened, and that's something breaking again. Sometimes you hold something together with duct tape. Eventually, the duct tape stops being sticky. So we'll have to take a look at that and figure out what's going on.
No worries at all. No worries at all. So, have you got any last words for yourself before you pop off and I wrap the show up so I can go to bed? I have a class to teach in 4 hours.
Oh my word! Well, I appreciate. Just out of curiosity, what do you teach?
Cybersecurity.
That's fantastic. Yeah, my mother is actually a teacher in a very, very different discipline. Yeah, I guess I'll just sort of conclude. I'll be a little bit redundant, but say again that I think there's a really strong sense of direction, and I'm hoping more and more, and it seems like more and more that not merely the Unshackled panel, but the community as a whole. I think we're feeling like we're heading in a good direction right now, and that's the momentum that I really want to maintain. So. What I would ask is, if you get one of the surveys post an event, please be thoughtful. Which is not to say don't be negative. If you're going to be negative, be thoughtful. If you're going to be positive, be thoughtful. Provide your reasoning. We actually do go through your responses. We don't just look at the numbers. We read the words that you write. So continue to use that as a method. Use the forums as a method. Use this panel as a method. We continue to listen. And hear what you guys have to say, and I hope that we continue to feel that momentum, and we continue to feel like the game is heading in a better direction, because that's where we all want it to be. So I really appreciate you guys having me on the panel again. It is always a lot of fun, and I'm going to go home and have some dinner.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you very, very much for coming on, and as always, even if you can't be available for a Wednesday, let Skip know. She'll let me know. I will put on a show just for you, hookers and blow and beer and everything.
The whole nine, huh?
The whole nine. The whole nine.
All right. Well, cheers, everyone. You have a good night.
And you. Thank you very much.
See you, mate.
That was a very interesting show. A very interesting, very, very interesting. I'm actually lost for words. So we're going to go ahead. We'll go wrap this up. We'll throw some shout outs in there, and we'll sign off for the night, and we'll get shit done. So David, have you got any shout outs?
First, I want to thank everybody on the panel for showing up, everybody out in YouTube for showing up, and all the webs that will be watching this show later, because I know there's going to be a shit ton of you. Other than that, Doc, thank you for putting on the show. A special shout out goes to Skipjack for getting Wrong Thinker on the show tonight. Without her, it wouldn't have been possible probably for tonight. So, Skipjack, thank you.
Excellent. Dobber, have you got any shout outs?
Since you're tired and want to go to bed, I'll paraphrase some of it. What David said, plus everyone out on YouTube, thanks for coming on. Thanks, Wrong Thinker, for coming on the panel. Thank you, Kixeye, for listening to feedback and surveys and stuff. The game is definitely turning in a good direction, so thank you, whoever at Kixeye is listening to this right now. Wrong Thinker gave a lot of good advice and stuff. And hopefully everything can work out good. Shout out to... what are we in, 116? Shout out to everyone who thinks that the spec op, the Black Plane spec op, dropships, there we go. I had a brain fart. The dropships, shout out to everyone who still has dropships. And my final shout out to Lonnie's photo that he had for Hangouts. Not the one that you saw tonight, but he's got a really epic one coming.
Okay, thank you for that one, Farmer Blade. That was quite funny. Fear, have you got any shout outs?
Once again, big shout out to Wrong Thinker for coming on. always great to have him on. We get a lot of really useful info from him, and he's always great to chat to. Thanks to everyone that's in YouTube. You guys put up with us for quite a long time. And shout out to the crybaby little bitches.
Gang, have you got any shout outs?
Shout out to Wrong Thinker for coming on the show. Shout out to everyone on the panel for sticking around, and Daba even for coming in late and asking all the questions. Shout out to Skipjack for getting Wrong Thinker on here. Shout out to Wolfie. I saw that he dropped out for Wrong Thinker, so he deserves a big shout out. And shout out to Words with Friends.
Goddamn bastards. Data, have you got any shout outs?
Yep, shout out to 116. Shout out to Bostonian for being the ultimate noob guinea pig for how not to set your base up with support turrets. Special shout out to him and to all the millions and millions of people who pancake him on the regular. Big ups.
Tweety should be in that shout out too for how not to use support turrets.
I've seen tweets.
Let's get the politics away from the show. Let's try not to do that. Venom, have you got any shout outs?
Yeah. First and foremost, shout out to our queen, our resident liaison between the KixEye staff and this platform. We always appreciate when you can spare some time to try to work out a schedule that allows one of them to help dispense information to the rest of us. Because it's better to hear it from the horse's mouth than from bullshit forum posts or questions or even, web Facebook pages. So much appreciated to all you do. Shout out to the great immortal Dr. Phil for putting on the show and hosting it and running it, because without him, the shows wouldn't be scheduled properly and run so smoothly. Although most of the time he fucks up by leaving his YouTube running, or he forgets what he's doing, or people like me just completely fuck up his cheat.
Forget the forum post thing.
Yeah. Shout out to my lovely wife for not annoying me this time while the show was on, especially after last night's impromptu show, which drove her absolutely batshit crazy because she was like, "Get the hell off of that! You do this every damn night." I'm like, no, and then I come back on again tonight, and so shout out for her for caring enough to put up with this childish stupidity that I go through. And finally, a big go fuck yourself to the lawn dog for stealing my only question and making me have to just kind of swallow crow.
Check side chat. There's plenty of other ones that we had there for you.
I don't want other people's questions. It's their genius that came up with those. I like to come up with my own questions.
It's YouTube.
But I'm just happy that it was asked. That's all.
We're the mouth for YouTube.
I definitely like to bring questions from the forums or from friends or from YouTube participants. So certainly.
Excellent. My final last words for this evening are: I want to thank everybody tonight on the panel. Wolfie gets a big shout out for dropping out to let Wrong Thinker on. Well, without that, he wouldn't have been able to be in here or write about it, David. Either way is fine by me, but I want to give a shout out to Farmer Blade in YouTube specifically for something he said a little while ago. I got to scroll up a little bit. Where the hell's it gone?
He has immoral.
Oh yeah, the Dr. Phil is immoral. I mean immortal. That did make me laugh. I want to shout out to all of those noobs out there who lost their war rigs in their base. And I told you it would happen. And I'm sitting back here with a Cheshire cat grin on my face, laughing at you.
I'm going to put extra sauerkraut on my hot dog tomorrow.
God damn. Of course, the shout out to Venom. Who's got it? I'm done. I want to shout out to everybody tonight for being, more so than anything else, actually being respectful and not being a dick about it. I didn't even have to ban anyone tonight, which is rare. Usually somebody's in the YouTube chat being a complete dick.
What?
That did not happen tonight. I didn't even get to time out David. In fact, I'm going to do it right now, right before I end the show, just so I can do it once.
Fuck off.
There we go.
Asshole.
There we go. One time out. That's all I've had to do. Usually,
I'm gonna go have my tea and crumpets right now. Okay.
You go fuck off and have your tea and crumpets. Okay.
Raise your pinky.
Bangers and mash.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. To Skip, to all of you guys, to Wrong Thinker especially, to I can't even say it now without laughing. The Golden Doodle. The Doodle, the Big D, for putting himself out to the community like he has already, even though he literally probably just started this position not so long ago, and has gone headfirst into the forum and dived right into it. So I want to thank everybody one more time, and for the millions and millions that will watch this later on. I am going to do what I did last time, and I'm going to split the show. However, I will leave it up as is until the 2 parts have been uploaded. So thank you very much for coming, and good night.